Welcome to Fat Man Beyond. I'm Kevin Smith.
I'm Mark Bernardi.
Hey!
You remember this guy?
I used to work here. Lovely to be back, man, but let's just fucking address the elephant in the room. Y'all didn't need me, man. Mark fucking killed it while I was away.
Oh, you're too kind.
With his insanely racist show, Black Man Beyond. All I got on the road were report after report of, oh my God, this is great. And then the shit got mean with like, don't come back. He's doing it. He's killing it. Everyone has loved it, man. How's that fucking feel? You gotta. Here, I'm just gonna set the stage for. Jesus, it's smoky in here, man. I can't even see anybody. Yeah, really, but it's not my kind of smoke. It made me so happy because like Mark, like I'm this kind of guy that does this shit where I'm like, ooh, I just want to talk and I want people to look at me and shit. Mark was not necessarily that guy. Maybe in his heart. You were in a band when you were a kid.
I was in a band when I was a kid.
So
we sucked. Don't worry about it. Or I would still be in a band if we didn't suck.
Seeing him kind of like come into his own, so much so that like fucking people like that. I saw a lot of that was the best show that you guys ever did, and you weren't there. Maybe that's the key. Stay the fuck away. But it was really, really fucking great, man. That made me so proud. What did it feel like to become just an entertainer?
No, it was fun. It was fun getting to do the thing that we kind of sort of do, which is like just stand up here and talk about the shit we love. And I did get oddly possessive, where like I think Katie Sackhoff wanted to come and stand where I'm standing and wanted me to stand where you're standing. I was like, that's not how this goes, Katie. No, you're sleeping on the wrong side of the bed, Katie. Which is again a sentence I never thought I'd say, but I like the sound of it.
Came out of your mouth awfully comfortably.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Everything's fine.
How many episodes did you do?
6, I think. Yeah, we had Malcolm Barrett, we had Todd Stashwick, Katie Sackhoff.
When you guys broke down Watchmen.
We broke down the first 3 episodes of Watchmen.
And that was where, who was it? Who made the joke that was like, Watchmen is so black, Liam Neeson's looking for it? Or
Malcolm.
It's an amazing fucking joke.
Like, and that's the end of that run. Like, you can't top that.
It really is, yeah.
Going home now. I was like, Watchmen's so black, he got pulled over on the way to the premiere. And Malcolm's like, hold my beer, bitch.
It was awesome. I'm so glad you did it. But I'm happy to be back. I've missed this place. I've been in front of a lot of people. I've been out on the road with the Jay and Silent Bob Reboot Roadshow tour, and I've seen Jamie. Jamie has been at how many stops? I've done here, just to set the stage, I've done 37 cities so far. 37, yeah, thank you. And it was 60th show in LA, so 37 and 60. How many cities did you go to?
15 shows total, but 10 cities.
10 cities, 15 shows. You are literally the only person going to this fucking tour, man. It's always nice to get to see a little piece of home, and I'm always reminded of the show. And then I'm like, I wonder how the show's doing. And then people are like, stay the fuck away. Show don't need you. I'm like, oh, show's doing great, I guess. So it's been fun out on the road, but like nothing like beats this audience, the intimacy of this room and stuff like that. How we get to geek out, it's just really fucking cool. On those road shows, I spent a lot of time obviously talking about myself and the movie specifically and fucking why I made it and stuff. It's a big me fest, and the movie is a huge fucking me fest and stuff. Coming here and just talking about other people's shit, fanning out, that feels like the right relationship, because that's how I started this shit, just as a fan. So it feels nice to be back, be able to geek out about shit. First thing I want to geek out about before we dive into anything else, because we got a bunch of shit to do, the ending of Watchmen. And just for the record, because I know you guys deep dove, all of the Watchmen was my favorite fucking thing this year. Yeah. And that includes my own movie. I looked for, at first I was like, who the fuck, like one a week, fuck this noise. But then I started to like learn anticipation again, like when we were kids, where you were like, and then you'd spend all week like literally obsessing about it. I watched those episodes 5 times. Like I'd watch it twice the night it dropped, and then throughout the week, it would be my go-to if I woke up early and had time. I'd sit there and smoke and fucking watch it. It was a dream come true. It was everything that we talked about as kids, going like, imagine if somebody took this shit seriously. But Damon Lindelof, rather than just going like, oh, I'm going to give you the Watchmen that you know, he's like, I'm going to show you the Watchmen that I was inspired by. And to me, it fucking fits. I can't speak for Alan Moore, but like, how could you not love what it became, man? Like, it was insanely fucking groundbreaking. It captured my imagination. It felt like the Watchmen without being the Watchmen. They didn't overdo fan service, but there was so much of it that it made me absolutely delighted. You could see it was made with loving fucking hands. Every episode was thrilling to me. And this is how good it was. Like, my wife hates everything, man. Like, she watches all true crime programs and shit. How to Murder Your Husband, which is really fucking unsettling if you're a husband and shit, and you're her fucking husband. So she loves the true crime and shit like that, courtroom programs. She was like, I was like, hey, let's watch. Netflix has this thing about Henry Lee Lucas. She's like, saw it twice, and it just fucking came out, man. So she watches that shit. When I'm like, hey, do you want to go see fucking Iron Man? She's like, call me when it's Iron Woman. She's one of those fucking people. So Watchmen, she only watched because we had a fight, and she was trying to make it up to me. And I was just like, well, I want to watch Watchmen. I think it's fucking brilliant. I've watched 3 episodes. And she's like, you get mad at me if I watch something without you, and then you won't watch it with me. I was like, I know, but you're in the doghouse, so you have to fucking watch my program. And so I'm rewatching it with you. That's how fucking good it is and stuff. And she doesn't know the book. I mean, she knows it exists and stuff like that. And over the years, she's picked up stuff from me through osmosis and shit. But she doesn't know the source material. She absolutely loved it. She's like, it's fucking dense, but this is incredible. To be fair, she's the world's biggest Regina King fan. So
it's easy to be.
Oh, fucking
Holy
Christ.
shit.
I mean, I loved her going way back to Boys in the Hood. Remember? She was just an obnoxious extra. That woman built an amazing fucking career from a character performance in that movie. Because that goes back pre-me. So I was 25 years ago with Clerks. So John had to do Boys in the Hood 3-4 years before me.
I feel like it's 92.
So she's been at it almost fucking 30 years, man.
Dude, she's on 227. Yeah.
Are you shitting me?
Yeah. She was like the older daughter in 227.
She fucking elevated the series, man. She was so pot committed. And what a thrilling story. I'm certainly not going to retread the territory that you went through, but if I was fucking thrilled that it was wow, I've never seen this before. It's a very black story. What the fuck must have you felt? Every episode, I imagined every episode I watched, I was like, fuck, I wish I was home, because finally, something he'd have nothing bad to say about. He would love every second of this. And I was so scared to text you to be like, do you like Watchmen? Because I didn't want you to shatter my illusions.
Bullshit.
Yeah, fuck this. This is some white man bullshit.
It's fucking
Damon Lindelof.
It's like an Oreo. It's black on the outside, white on the inside.
Is that what that was your fucking... I mean, honestly, it was... I couldn't fucking... my breath was taken away as if I felt like I'm seeing something insanely fucking new. And they took all familiar tropes and remixed it. It was, and not just from Watchmen, fucking, you don't have to know comics to be like, hey, they're putting a baby in a basket and sending it away from a world that's fucking falling apart and shit like that. And then they nail it home later on. Because I remember watching that and I feel clever. And then in episode 7, they're like, everyone's clever now. They fucking just show you the flashlight and stuff.
There's a bad guy making a bad guy speech, the way bad guy speeches do. Huh.
And also the whole series, I'm like, what the fuck with Jeremy Irons? And they landed it, man, where I'm like, what the fuck with Jeremy Irons? That was awesome. And I'll sit through him fucking farting and getting his legs rubbed or whatever the fuck, just to get to that moment when he sees Lori for the first time, face to face. And he calls her
Miss Jupesic.
No, he said Miss. What is it?
Jupesic.
Jupesic, the name from the comics, like because she's Polish or something like that. And her mom was
Jupiter.
Sally Jupesic, but she changed it to Sally Jupiter because she wanted to Anglicanize or something like that. So him fucking calling her by like her truly secret identity, because now she goes by Lori Blake. I fucking came so hard, man. I was like, oh my! I was sitting there right next to my wife the whole time, and I swear to you, 9 times during that fucking last hour, I kept doing this shit. And she's like, nobody's here to see you. I was like, that's how fucking good it is, man. Like, I stand this shit.
Yeah.
What did you fucking feel about, like, before we get to the finale, at what point were you like, holy shit, they made this just for me?
Like 2 minutes into the pilot.
Holy shit, right?
You know,
and
like,
did you know that story prior to that?
I knew that. I didn't know it nearly that deep and in that depth, but I had heard, like, when I was a kid about the Tulsa Massacre. And it just, you know, like a thing that my parents had said. As a kid, it doesn't register at all with you, and you kind of just move on. But never touched on it in school, never really touched on it.
As the thing, you're like a thing a parents say to you, did they say, don't ever fucking go to Tulsa, man?
Tulsa's
like,
a bad place. But, you know, it was probably some, like, fucking Martin Luther King birthday, and we're having, like, we're going to do, like, Black History because they're not really teaching in school. So let's just talk about the reasons why people have dreams. And, oh, by the way, oh, shit, let's talk about this. And I
like
remember
in the midst of all the dreams, here's a couple thousand fucking nightmares. It's a horrifying fucking story. Did you see today's news?
Yeah, that they found like a mass grave from Tulsa from the 21 massacre.
Because they said reported like there's 36 reported deaths, but they were like there were hundreds, and now they think this mass grave might reveal that.
I mean, it's the one time that a domestic terrorist group conducted an airstrike.
That was crazy. When I saw the
and
planes,
bombs,
that's
and
what made me go to the internet. I'm like, come on. And then I was like, holy fuck. And it's a story that I've never heard my entire life. To open your show with that.
Yeah.
Predicate your entire series on that.
This is the declaration of intent.
Oh my God. Right away, I was like, you have my attention. Look, I was all in anyway. I wanted to watch this, but suddenly I was like, oh my God. Like, that was the first fucking, like, instinct or feeling where I was like, he might do this. Like, he might pull it off. Because I remember when they were like, we're doing a series and it's kind of a spin-off, but it's set in the future and shit. I was like, why would you bother? Why wouldn't you just fucking do The Watchmen and do it right and shit? You didn't have to. They did it. It was in the background. They fucking even gave you the goddamn squid and more squid on top of it, man. Like, oh, it was fucking beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, Alan Moore's Watchmen is about nuclear holocaust, right? It's about
Dave Gibbons.
And Dave Gibbons. It's in the shadow of...
Actually, if you watch the credit, Dave Gibbons' Watchmen.
Yeah. But it's that was the overwhelming social and political issue of the day was, is Russia going to nuke us? And that's all we thought. I mean, if you weren't alive in the 80s, it was everywhere. It was duck and cover. It was
you were scared
missile
of that
drills.
shit. Like in fact, you thought you were just going to die in a nuclear war one day. It seemed inevitable.
You know, and so
oh my God, now that I think about it, like recently I was looking at the news cycle and I was like feeling a little hopeless like everybody does. Because sometimes like the stories just stack up like jets where you're like, come on, man, somebody put up a fucking puppy story quick and shit. And I was just like, this must be the absolute fucking worst like time to live in a news cycle and shit like that. It's so depressing. But that was a pretty fucking bleak time.
Yeah, no, it was awful. Like everywhere you looked, and you didn't even have Twitter to offer you puppies. It was just the fucking news, and it was awful.
And they were like, you're gonna die, you're gonna fucking die, man, because Russia, you're gonna fucking die, hate the Russians, hate dying. And I fucking hated dying and shit.
Still do.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
They didn't beat that out of me, man.
But so in order to update Watchmen, you know, Damon, and he said it plenty of different places.
Yeah,
not,
you
not
talked
just
to
me.
him.
Yeah, I talked to him like last week, I think.
What was that for?
The Writers Guild Foundation had a writers on writers sort of conversation with Damon about Watchmen, and they asked me if I would do it, and I said
fucking
yes.
good year you've had, man.
It's been fucking nuts. And so Damon had said, like, well, what's the prevailing sort of social issue that we're all sort of wrestling with at the moment? And for him, it was race. For him, it was, you know, with the rise of Donald Trump and the rise of the alt-right, and we're talking about Nazis again, and we're talking about white supremacy again, the sort of the bleeding wound of America that America never really wants to deal with, that America hides under its own mask of civility, is race. And so he's like, I want to do a show about that. I don't know anything about this, so I'm going to find people who know things about this. I'm going to consult every text I can and like hire a writer's room who I feel will challenge me to have these conversations about it. And pushing that show into a zone that not only dealt with race, but dealt with pain. You know, it's fundamentally a show about pain and legacy and the legacy of pain. And to have an episode like episode 6, where you are literally going back into the origin of Hooded Justice and what motivates a person to put on a mask and what motivates a person to hide who he is for a certain reason and to have levels of masks that you're wearing. Like, I'm a cop, but I'm also Hooded Justice, and I'm also gay, and I'm also black, and nobody can know these things, so I can do this work that I feel like I'm prompted to do.
And also that episode, just visually stunning as well, with like masterful touches of like,
it's
he
dream
had
logic.
the white eyes, he had the white eye mask, she has the black eye mask,
Yeah.
like generations of crime fighting. Everything was just so subtle. I don't want to spoil it. Well, we can talk about that.
We spoil a little bit.
Fucking spoil
We've all
it,
seen
man.
it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yes? Most, kind of, ish. All right.
The egg motif.
The egg motif.
Was
Rebirth.
absolutely fucking brilliant, man. How they built up Dr. Manhattan throughout the entire series, where, you know, he was like the shark in Jaws. They don't give you the shark in Jaws right away. It takes an hour for you to see him fucking swim under the boat and shit. They waited pretty deep into their run to be like, all right, here he is.
Is what it is. Like, lots of things in that show have been hiding in plain sight.
Yes.
The entire time. And that bit in the finale, not going to spoil it, but, you know, like, there's a statue that we've seen that is suddenly like, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
You put it, like, I've been looking at this and that's that? Fuck you. Most of that show me watching was fuck you and jealousy. Of like, now, god damn it, I can't write anything.
I
now.
never felt jealous. I never felt insecure because I was like, well, fucking, they're all brilliant. Fuck them. But I just felt like a fan the whole time. I was like, oh my God, that fucking rocks. Oh yes, that's how you fucking do it. Like, I couldn't imagine that shit. I couldn't improve it, honestly. There's nothing where I'd be like, if they had done this, like, they hit everything fucking great. Like, even... Like, they checked every box and tied up every loose thread and left a very satisfying conclusion, and also left it completely fucking open-ended to do a completely different story if they want to do it again. If they did it again, I'd be elated. If they never did it again, I'd still be happy. Like,
Yeah.
it is honestly the best thing I saw all year. I was so deeply invested. I thought it was imaginative. I thought it felt important watching it. It made me smarter watching it. You know, I remember like in the beginning falling in love with it right away, but then being like, well, you know, it's Damon. Let's see if he sticks the landing and stuff. He stuck the fucking landing. Like, my hat's off to him. It was absolutely fucking wonderful. My favorite thing made by human hands this year, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll not see its like. Can you, like, honestly, can you think of another first season of television that was that fucking strong? Which one?
Maud.
You know what? He's got us. Fucking
got
Maud
us.
was pretty amazing, man. It was. She did have an abortion. You're right.
She
Fucking
did.
Maud.
I think
I
that-
was stopped dead. I was like, did he mean Maud? Maud?
I think the first season of Battlestar
Yeah, that was
pretty
fucking
great.
good. Yeah. But still, like, all right, and I give you that, but as great as The Watchmen?
No, I mean,
No.
I have never seen a show engineered as finely and precisely as this show.
Oh, like a watch.
Like a watch. Like, every fucking gear is waiting for its mesh, and everything is at its moment and its time, and setups and payoffs are organic and surprising, and everything is obvious and everything is surprising all at once.
And
I've
a
never seen a show do
satisfying
that.
conclusion, too.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't sitting there going, oh, come on. Like, I'm telling you, stuck the landing. Every fucking point was addressed. I was completely fucking satisfied. Right down to, like, how people stayed completely in character. They stayed true to their characters. Spoilers. Laurie making an arrest at the end.
Yeah.
Like, felt absolutely true. Like, made absolute fucking sense.
Yeah, and like everybody's operating from an emotional place. Adrian Veidt does what he does because he wants to feel loved and can't. And it's like, I want to feel loved by a world that I think I saved. I want to feel loved by these fucking weird-ass Europeans.
Oh my God, I didn't realize that. That's good. God, they're working at a whole different level, man.
And like for him to potentially never get that love, like every Damon story feels like a tragedy, and be it Lost, be it The Leftovers, be it this, but it's finding those moments within that tragedy that make it worth going through anyway. And this is, to me, the most crystalline version of that, is that we see the tragedy of it, and we're told it's going to be a tragedy. And will you embark on a story knowing it's going to end badly? Yeah.
Oh, that was so fucking beautiful. Like, especially, I loved that. Look, all the episodes were brilliant, but that episode, God walks into a bar, even with its like clever fucking title, just putting it that way, that made me cry. That episode when you know, he was like, she was like, who says, is it him? He says like, aren't they all, like, isn't every...
Yeah, isn't every story a tragedy? Isn't every love story a tragedy?
And she was like, you got me there.
Yeah, and it's the greatest meet cute story I've ever seen, because it is nothing but these two people beginning a relationship. But you're dancing throughout time, and you're seeing the ramifications of it, and you're seeing the lengths to which this person will go to fall in love and be surprised by love, and the sacrifice of that, and the weird manipulation on her part of like, I can create the perfect man for me. I picked out the perfect body because if I could choose, I'm picking fucking Yaya. Have you seen that dude's dick?
Yeah. I've seen it a lot. My wife watched it too, and she was like, is that special effects? I was like, fuck yeah, it is, man. That ain't nothing but CG. Nobody that well hung, man.
Industrial light and magic.
Hey, look, he's all blue. He ain't blue in real life. Trust me, that ain't no real dick. Oh man, yeah, that was... You know what? I didn't even care. I didn't even care that his fucking dick was so thick with 2 C's that it made me question my own fucking manhood, going, do I even have a dick for real? That's how good it was. I was like, you could put that big blue dick in my face. I love your show. The last episode, him experiencing all those moments at once was fucking heartbreaking for a guy who had to deal with the tragedy of constantly existing across time at one span, at one moment, for it to all be like the best moment, like the greatest fucking hits. That was incredibly touching. Yeah. I hated to see some characters go. I'm trying not to fucking spoil it. But it was so fucking beautifully done.
And there's also, like, technically, for that character, he never has to die, because he's always living those moments all at once.
Right.
And so he's chosen his last moment to be all of the best moments with her. And that's how he will forever be remained, is in this little loop. This little awesome, lovely, romantic Valentine's Day loop, forever and ever and ever. Because everything is nothing and nothing is everything to that dude.
It was
I hate you, Damon. I hate you so much.
He delivered a like a sci-fi comic book finale as well that had brains to it, but it's the one episode that feels the most like a comic book. Right down to like there's a ticking clock and fucking doom, and we're gonna use a fucking a cannon and we've trapped him in this fucking cage and stuff like that. I'm going to destroy him and become him. I loved the Lady True secret origin. I loved such a weird flourish where he's like, he's never had sex, but he saves all his fucking cum. It was such an Ozymandian thing to do,
in
man.
A vault that's fronted by a picture of Alexander the Great.
Yeah, little shit like that, man. Like, and just all of it, so imaginative and inspired by the source material without stealing liberally from the source material. Like, there's a bunch of homages, but like, I never felt like, oh, he's just doing that. He didn't. There was no giant squid. It wasn't like, we're gonna do it again. I loved their plan. I thought it was original as fuck. Like the idea that like, we're gonna fucking capture Dr. Manhattan, destroy him and become him. And like, having Lady True go, like, can you imagine that power in the hands of fucking white supremacists? Like, it felt like dire stakes. Like I can't think of another movie, comic book property, TV show where it was just like, we have to stop these racists from becoming super racists. And just, he did the true job of a superhero, and he did it without all that help. The heartbreaking relationship with Captain Metropolis and shit, and having that dude be like, come on, that's all in your head and shit. And having him single-handedly take down, like, a secret society of fucking true supervillains. All of it was so fucking masterfully done, man. It's like, I remember like when Batman came out in '89, and like you could get people who weren't into comics to watch that movie, and you were like, see man, it's not just fucking kid stuff. Like you could give the Watchmen to fucking brainy people who shit on comic books still to this day, and it stands apart as a piece of like media that doesn't honestly rely incredibly on its source fucking material. You can watch that without ever having read Watchmen, and it still works. They give you all just enough of the backstory, and like anything, hopefully it inspires you, as it did me, to go back and fucking read the Watchmen again all throughout, because I was like, oh shit, I want to go back.
And it deepens it.
Oh,
like knowing the Hooded Justice origin story just makes all of that shit far more resonant.
Yeah.
And also, in point of fact, the first and third Indiana Jones movies are about keeping racists from becoming super racists.
Fucking good call, man. That's a good point. Yeah, they've done it before. All right, fuck Watchmen. It was fantastic, and boy, I'm gonna miss it. Like, at the same, as much as I was like, I want to see what happens, it really I was sad when there was no next week on Watchmen and shit.
Although, like, Damon has gone on record, both in lots of other places and with me. I asked him, like, are you going to make more of this? And he said, I don't have another idea for it. And until I come up with another idea for it, I have no interest in doing it.
Good. I mean, like, fucking, I back that play.
Yeah, but
don't make a weak version.
HBO did say on the series finale of Watchmen, meaning, like, they are fully intending making more of this.
So
season finale.
It said season as
finale.
opposed to series.
Yeah.
You read between the lines.
So yes. So like they're making more of this with or without him.
Right.
I pity the fool who attempts to follow this without the idea.
Yeah.
Because this can't be we got to make one. Like if they can make 9 episodes of Magnum PI, surely we can make 2 of this. Like I don't know.
All right.
Unless it's all about TJ.
We could stop sucking Watchmen's dick.
It's so big, though.
I know, and luscious.
I need help.
Is like, you know that joke? They're always like, it's like a baby arm holding an apple. That shit literally was a baby's arm holding an apple. It was so fucking.
It was like
Did you ever see one that big?
Well, I was in college once.
Yeah, and also that's Black Manta.
Yeah, it is.
And talk about like a completely different performance. Like that Black Manta performance is all aggression and shit. His cow is all inner zen and peace and
totally.
Shit. Yeah, like very Kal-El, yeah.
Yeah, and his Get Down. Do you remember him from the Get Down? Did you ever see the Get Down? He's in the Get Down, and he plays like a fucking disco godfather. It's great. Like,
who is this guy?
Yahya?
Yeah.
Yahya Abdul Mateen II.
Yeah. Wow, fucking well done.
He's got a name. You don't forget a name like Yahya Abdul Mateen II. At your peril.
Now you're just fucking showing off, man. Wow, yeah, he killed it. He absolutely fucking crushed it, man. Like, I know it's not like, you know, man, there's so many people who played that role, but I thought Billy Crudup did a great job, but I thought this guy did a fucking fantastic.
I mean, he had so much more to work with.
Great job too. Yeah,
I mean,
like more time to get into it.
More time to lean into it. I don't know. I guess that's all we're gonna say about Watchmen. Yeah.
Yeah, I could talk about. I went to the Star Wars premiere last night.
Yeah, you did.
The official premiere of The Rise of Skywalker. The good folks at Bose Headphones gave me these Sith headphones and tickets to go see the movie and stuff. So I took my 2 wives, Jason Mewes and Jennifer Schwalbach, one on each arm and shit. And man, it was only up here at the well, it wasn't technically the Chinese. I guess it was
Dolby.
At the Dolby. Yeah. Oh my God, it's true. The whole time I thought we were going to the Chinese because they shut down that street, but we wound up going to the Dolby, and I was like, oh fuck, this is the where they do the Oscars. I was like, I've never been in here. I'll never be in here again. But then I remembered I was there once. I went to see a ballet.
Ooh,
years
you
ago.
fancy.
I know. The kid was like into ballet, so my wife was like, we're all going. And I fell asleep. But but I remember thinking then, this is the fucking Oscar room and shit like that. It's an engineering miracle, man. They shut down a bunch of streets and fucking corral traffic and so that they can bring people through security. That was a big fucking deal, man. Every car went through the bomb check and dogs surrounded it and stuff like that. And you realize, oh, I guess this place is a big fucking target. Because I was wondering why they didn't announce it. They were like, we're not telling anybody where the premiere is going to be. But I live up the street from the Chinese, and we did a show at the Chinese the other night. And so right outside, we saw the fucking setup. We were like, geez, I wonder what's going to happen here and stuff. So they were keeping it quiet for safety and stuff. So they checked everybody and everything. And then we got our tickets and walked in. And you walk in, like, what street was it? It was completely shut down. So fucked in. I can get you anywhere in this town, but if you ask me the street names, I'm like, I don't know.
It's not Highland. Did they shut down Highland?
Well, no, they shut down.
Hollywood Boulevard.
Hollywood Boulevard, and then what's the one right behind it? Yeah, where the high school is. That was where they brought people through, and then Selma. And then they brought cats into the grounds where there was a giant room set up that once you got inside looked like Space Mountain because it was all black, but it had stars poking through. And they had giant X-Wings and ships and shit like that, and the press, and they had the 501, the 501st, the Legion was there filling up the middle and stuff, so there's a lot of enthusiasm. First person, before I even got inside, stepped onto the carpet and then peeking out from behind. Well, first I saw his lady. I saw Mary Lou, and I was like, ah, man, where's your man? She's like, oh, he's over there. And there's Mark Hamill peeking out from behind the wall. And so me and Jay ran over and talked to him for a while and stuff. He was lovely, but he was just like, he's like, I'm nervous. He's like, things like this are really big. He's like, I'll be here for a minute. So he was hanging off to the side. We chit-chatted with him and shit. Then I went inside, and I saw JJ inside and talked to him for a minute. I saw Adam Driver, who I didn't remember this, but my casting director on Cop Out was like, you met him. He came in on Cop Out. I was like, he dodged a bullet. But I got to go up to him and be like, hey, man, how are you and shit. And he goes, nice to meet you. So he didn't fucking remember meeting me. So it was mutual and shit. But I was like, you're just doing career best work right now, man. Congratulations. And he was like, thank you. He was very serious. And he's like, thank you. This is my wife. Classy dude. Like, introduces a wife and stuff. Because I got a wife who, like, is always like, you never introduced me and shit. And so I was like, you should marry Adam Driver, man. He fucking... He's
I've seen a movie in which he gets divorced.
Fuck
so.
yeah, maybe not. Maybe don't marry him in the movies, but in real life and shit. Maybe that's why he introduced me to his wife. He's like, this is my wife. That's only a fucking movie, you know.
I'm good at this.
Yeah, he's like, we fucking got a good thing going on. So I met him. Who else did I see? I saw Greg Grunberg, but I didn't get to talk to him. Jon Favreau. I ran into, and I was like, look, I said, I have not seen the show yet because I've been on tour. I said, I'm waiting 2 episodes, and I'm going to be able to binge the whole fucking thing. I said, but, like, I can't avoid fucking Baby Yoda, man. It's everywhere and shit. I was like, that shit's brilliant. I said, who came up with that? And he goes, and I go, are you serious? He goes, I wrote the show. I was like, you're the fucking showrunner, too? He's like, it's all mine. I was like, you came up with Baby fucking Yoda, man? I was like, what a fucking, like... You should have held the copyright to that shit, man. I said, Baby Yoda's gonna heal the world, man. He's very happy right now in life. He said something to me that made me feel very good. He goes, oh my God, you're everywhere. And I was like, the plan's working. But then he gave me like the coin that's from The Mandalorian. It's his like...
Challenge coin?
Yeah, on the back it says executive producer or something like that. Jon Favreau, it's his coin and stuff. I was like, man, I hope this is good for a cameo. So I saw him. Then who else did I see? I mean, I saw like John Boyega came over and he goes, I know that guy. He was on the set. And I was like, he remembered. And who else did I see? When I was in the theater, I saw Harrison Ford, man, was a guest. I looked over and I was like, is that fucking Harrison Ford? And it was Harrison Ford, and then there was a dude next to him. And I was like, is that? Holy the fuck. And it was Steven Spielberg. And this is what I saw. It was one of the most charming fucking moments, man. Like, you know, I was many rows away. I could have hit him with a wiffle ball, but like fucking, I would have had to throw hard and shit. But he was standing next to him, and at one point Harrison Ford, here, move over. Harrison Ford is like talking to somebody, and here's Steven Spielberg next to him. And then Harrison Ford goes,
Aww.
and I was like, they're boys, man. Like fucking, they're hundreds of years old, but they're fucking boys. Like, they're tight with each other. They've been in each other's lives forever. It was really fucking sweet. I saw Billy D live in the flesh. They introduced everybody, brought everybody up on stage. The big takeaway, because I'm not allowed to talk about the movie, but a movie I really fucking enjoyed it. They're all positive, but we're not allowed to speak about it.
I haven't seen it, so I can't.
He can't. But my
side pieces didn't get to go along with the two wives.
I mean, I did have two wives. But my big takeaway for that evening, other than the movie's wonderful, is JJ is like could do what I do in a heartbeat. He is very funny. His timing is like fucking impeccable. You know, everybody at the premiere is kind of rooting for you, so the audience is in your pocket and shit. But he has legit comedic timing, like where I was like, that's fucking unfair. You can't be the guy that's like good at these movies and like do my job, you know, like fucking I get to make the weak movies and be the guy with the microphone, and they put a microphone in his hand. He's fucking wonderful, man. I didn't want the intro to end. I was like, more fucking JJ. At one point in the movie, though, thank God they started the movie because there's lots to love in the movie. At one point in the movie, something happens that's so big that fucking like not only was I the first to start applauding, and I knew it before it happened. I could hear it off camera and shit, and then it happened and shit. As everybody was applauding, then I fucking, as soon as it died down, I screamed at the top of my lungs, "Fuck yeah, JJ!" Like, and fucking a bunch of people chuckled and shit like that. It was, it's a ride. It's an epic movie that fucking brings not only a trilogy to an end, but the fucking saga to an end and shit like that. And my childhood to an end and stuff. Yeah, man, it's fucking big. And there's some wonderful fucking fan service in it. Like, really hardcore. I don't want to say anything more, but because I want to keep going to these fucking shows. And if I spill shit before the fucking date, then they don't invite you back and stuff. So,
I don't want you to spill nothing either, man.
Yeah. But oh God, I want to spoil it so hardcore. There's so many things I want to like just shout out and be like, they fucking did this. Can you fucking believe they did this? Like, there's some
and we're like, no, we haven't seen it. We can't believe it. Shut it.
Can't I just tell you what? It's small, man.
Nope.
Yes. Do you hear the call of the dark side? The Sith Lord over here is like, do it. Let your hatred strike down the spoilers. All right, I won't spoil shit, but I'm telling you, bring two pair of drawers, man, because there's some fanboy and fangirl moments that are fucking wonderful fan service. They tick a lot of boxes. It's amazing that he brings this bird in for a fucking landing as well as he does. Like, it's so many strands that he ties together and shit. And fuck, come on, let me just tell you the one thing.
No, man.
All right, fuck you guys. All right, I can't wait to come back and talk about it when everyone has said it. Am I in the thing I love? The thing I want to spoil? No, it's a Chewy thing. I want to tell you everything. All right, fuck it. You know what? When do we do this again? Do we do it again before the end of the year?
We don't.
This is the last time?
This is the last time.
Fuck.
I mean, we could do another one if you want.
Can we? Is there enough time? What if we did one between Christmas and New Year's? Would anybody go? Yeah. If we do one between... Well, are you here?
No, I'm back east.
Oh, so maybe it'll be White Man Beyond. White Man Beyond has a terrible ring to it.
But only if you're talking about Watchmen the entire time. It's like James Marsden is here. The Cyclops, he's right here. We're going to talk about White Man Beyond the whole time.
My next guest, Clancy Brown.
He's not brown.
What? That was good. Where are you going? Back to Jersey?
Yeah, Jersey, New York.
Fuck. How long?
8 days.
Well, you're the problem here.
It's my fault. I fucked it up for everybody.
We're like a week from Christmas. Mm-hmm. It'd be crazy to do it. What is Tuesday Christmas Eve?
Yes.
Wednesday's Christmas Eve or Tuesday?
Wednesday's Christmas Day.
And we do this show on a Tuesday.
We do.
We can't do it on Christmas Eve. Like, all our families would hate us so much.
We could do it like the afternoon.
To do it.
Do it.
I mean,
Do
just so we can all fucking talk about the movie and shit. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
What if we did it on Saturday? We do like Saturday afternoon.
We could book a Sunday afternoon.
Look, you're seeing backstage how shit happens.
Sunday.
Sunday? This Sunday?
Sunday the 21st?
Would people
No,
buy tickets?
22nd.
That'd be 3 shows in a week. Would people show up? If we're talking about Star Wars, would people show up?
That's the thing. It'd be like a spoiler affair. Everyone in the room would have to have seen the movie. Because we're just gonna, we could do that. We could fucking take everybody. I mean, I don't know if actually Sunday, we're not gonna be able to get fucking a movie theater on Sunday because it's like opening weekend.
On the 26th.
Yours is?
I'm on a plane.
December? You're born a day after Christmas? Whose gift for you?
Shannon's gift.
And why'd they get it a day late? That's beautiful. Maybe we could do that.
The 22nd we could do.
What's that?
That's Sunday the 22nd.
We can put it up and see what happens. I mean, look, even if fucking 30 people show up, at least we're all getting to talk about the movie.
All right, I'll put it up tomorrow. We'll see who buys tickets. I'll just bill it as Rise of Skywalker spoiler show.
Smart. Fucking yeah, that's smart. Tell them, like everyone, you have to have seen the fucking flick because we're going to fucking talk about it. All right, that's good. That'll scratch an itch, man, because fuck, I really want to talk. I'm going to go to the Legion M, the good folks at Legion M who helped us make Jay and Silent Bob reboot. They're doing a big screening on, what is it?
Thursday?
Thursday. With the folks lining up.net where we did the Fat Man Beyond the other night and stuff. So I'm going to go watch it again because watching it, the premiere was lovely and stuff, but like I've just come off the road where every night we watch my movie with a bunch of hardcore fans, and I've described the experience as like it's like going to church where you're both the priest and Jesus at the same time and shit. So as religious as those screenings have been, I want to go to somebody else's church, so to speak, and go into the Chinese to watch the last fucking Skywalker movie, man, the Rise of Skywalker, but the last movie in the Skywalker saga with a bunch of fucking hardcore fans and shit. It'll be thunderous, and I've seen the movie, so I know what to expect, so I won't be like, shut the fuck up, I can't hear the dialogue. So I'll be able to join in and shit. But I was the loud one at the screening, man. Like, I honestly, like, whooped, hollered, and fucking called out, like, a lot throughout the movie. I saw somebody tweeted, like, last night, I forget who it was, but they were like, I was sitting a few rows in front of Kevin Smith, and he made the movie so much better for me. So there you go. Take me to the movies.
There you go.
So, all right, let's do that. So it looks like Sunday we'll do a show.
All right.
That cleans our upfront shit?
It does.
Should we do...
We got a guest.
Guest and then news?
Guest and then news.
All right. And then, is there a lot of news or no?
As much as you want. It can be as thick as a dick or as small as a dick.
Is as thick as fucking
Depending.
Yaya's dick? Oh my God. It just don't quit and shit. Who watches that Watchmen? Me. I watch his dick very closely. There are artists in the world, ladies and gentlemen, and there are artists. One of my favorite fucking artists on this planet, man. One person that made me love the medium, not just of comic books, but graphic art in general. One of the few artists whose work proudly hangs in my house in a couple different variations, man. Not just in his character study of people who I've grew up reading about, characters I grew up reading about. Some of the drawings include my fucking self and stuff. This is a name at which every knee should bend. If you loved, and we all did, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, remember I talked about, and we all did. Remember I talked about, like, I was so breathless about their rendition of Kingpin, which I was like, I swear to you, it looks like it's the Kingpin that comes out of Love and Death, man, that Daredevil book, fucking Love and Death. And I couldn't believe like somebody was smart enough to choose. And then the whole sequence with the fucking collider and shit like that looked like the dude's stuff. And I was like, oh, thank God, there's finally fucking stealing from people I love and shit like that. This guy has laid so much fucking track in the world of comic books. Again, I can't express how much of a fucking fan I am. It's an honor to talk to the great Bill Sienkiewicz is here, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, everybody. Happy almost holidays.
Yeah.
Almost at the holidays. Man,
Yeah.
you got a fucking strong Instagram game. You keep putting up some great fucking shit. Every day you put up at least one thing that I'm like, like a breathtaking piece that I know and love fucking so well.
Well, I can't take any credit for that. That's actually, I got
You got somebody doing it?
I got
You paid the right fucking dude, man. But it's all your work.
Yeah.
Like, it's,
Oh, yeah,
they're pulling
absolutely.
from your fucking catalog, and everything they put
Yeah.
up, it's just a walk down memory lane for me and stuff like that. How long you been doing this?
Oh man, professionally, I think I started in 1980, so it's been a long time. But I know that I've been drawing since I was, I started out like as the cliche, taking my mom's lipstick and doing it on the walls and stuff like that. But I've been doing this for
Almost 50
at
years.
least almost 50 years, yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and I love it more than ever, man. I feel like I'm still getting my the right idea of what I want to try is coming up. It's like it isn't here yet. I know it's out there somewhere.
You don't, meaning, wait, you don't feel like I'm there, I've done it.
Oh no, not at all, man. I feel like it's always just so elusive. It's like I love comics. It's the medium for me. Growing up, loving comics as I did, it's like, and then finding out about fine art and abstract expressionism and jazz and everything else when I was in art school in Newark, New Jersey. It was like all this stuff. It was such a learning experience for me about art and music and film. And because I love comics so much, I felt like that was my calling. I remember I was 7 years old. I told my old man, I said, I'm going to be drawing comic books when when I was 7 years old. I said, this is what I'm going to be doing for my life. And I think he really started pounding the sauce after that, like really pretty heavily. But so I feel like the medium could do anything. And that's the way I've sort of viewed it. And so the idea of like taking all of this other stuff that I fell in love with and putting it into the medium, it's been my goal. I was either going to get out after the whole Adams clone thing. I don't know if anybody's familiar with my past in terms of my influences, but I was a big Neil Adams guy.
Yeah.
So, and then once I started doing Moon Knight, which is what I started on. And
Was
then
that your first book?
Yeah, it was my first book.
That was before New Mutants and stuff?
Yeah.
How long before? How much further before?
I think it was like 3 years. I think I worked on Moon Knight from 80 to 83. And then I think I started doing a couple of other covers, like the Dazzler cover. I think I did Star-Lord once or twice. And then I did Dune in 84 because I was a big David Lynch, Frank Herbert fan, and the Police, so I figured, hey, Sting is in the mix too, why not?
And did they show you the movie in advance? Were they super secretive back then?
They were very secretive about it. But I dealt with Universal, and they gave me a bunch of reference, but I remember, again, loving the medium and loving comics and also loving the source material. Interesting hearing you talk about, Watchmen and the source material and variations and deviations thereof. The idea of falling in love with Frank Herbert's Vladimir Harkonnen, and they were like, I wanted to do animation style, obesity of how he could float and everything else. So I was exaggerating a lot of the stuff from the film. Universal came back and said, you're making him way too heavy. It's like, and he doesn't look like Kenneth McMillan. He's got pustules on one side of his face, you're putting them on both sides of his face. So it literally came down to negotiations with Universal art directors about like, all right, I'll make him 30 pounds lighter, but you got to give me 15 pustules. You know, it's like it was that kind of negotiation, and because all of the comic book adaptations of films over the years, it's like doing the adaptation of the Batman movie and having to have Jack Nicholson be the Joker. It's like the Joker is the Joker,
Right.
And so there's all of these likeness clauses, and it's comic book movie adaptations are by nature a thankless gig, but I did it because I was just a masochist. It's like I got to do Dune. I'm a David Lynch nut, A lot of what he did in Eraserhead is stuff I tried to do in the New Mutants and stuff later on. So
it's fucked up when you mention jazz, because instantly I'm like, holy shit! Like I see it in the artwork.
Oh, well, that's very cool.
I mean, Electra Assassin just feels like fucking Coltrane.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, it's interesting you mention it because I would listen to Coltrane as I was working on that, So
What?
Yeah, it's to me a lot of what is the medium can do. And if I sound like an evangelist for comics, it's because I absolutely am. So
you were a kid that gravitated toward the dream job because you love the medium in the first place. You're still in the medium. You still fucking like rock it today, as opposed to like some cats use it as a springboard to something else. But you're like, this is where I want to be.
Yeah, and even though I'm doing stuff for I've worked with been fortunate enough to work in a lot of other related arenas, in terms of animation. I mean, with like Carmen, like creating like the look for Carmen Sandiego, or working with Eastwood on Unforgiven, which is if you actually look at my Twitter feed, it says author, artist, that Polish guy. That Polish guy comes from Clint Eastwood, because when I was working with him on the poster art, there were a number of different artists who were working on it. I came up with like 7 different comps for it, which are preliminaries. And the art director wanted to do a photography, which is ultimately what they ended up going with. But they said, well, what artist do you want to give it to? And Eastwood said, give it to the Polish guy. And I said, I don't care if I get this gig or not. The fact is, I've just been insulted by Dirty Harry. So it's like my life is complete, So all of those other arenas, like the Spider-Verse, I had no idea they were doing that.
They didn't hit you up and say anything?
No, they actually. The first I heard of it is when they called me up to do a poster for the release. And then they invited me to the premiere, which I wasn't able to make it to, but I ended up going to see the film by myself, which is probably a good idea because I ended up kind of crying into my popcorn, because I was just blown away.
I mean, they did you on the screen, like it looked like you.
Yeah. It was pretty stunning, and kind of took my breath away. It's like you have to understand. It's like I'm a farm kid from New Jersey. It's like my grandfather was a coal miner in Pennsylvania. I still view what I do as being not necessarily in the mines, but like I love what I do. I'm a working guy, and all of that other stuff that happened in terms of Eastwood or the movies like we just mentioned or TV stuff, that's all kind of gravy. But it's I'm like the comedian who has a lucky break with a TV show, but still feels the best and the most at home when he's standing in a crowd, just on stage, just with a microphone. I mean, I'm that guy where my world exists, to the extent of my fluorescent lights.
So wait, Marvel was the first company that hired you?
Yeah, although I didn't think I was good enough for Marvel. So I was in my second year of art school. All my friends were graduating.
Where did you go to art school?
I went to school in Newark, New Jersey. It was actually an art college and a music college. I mean, Savion Glover went there. Melba Moore, if you've ever heard of Melba Moore.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So I was, just blown away by what I was learning there. And then,
and did they recognize, like early on, where they're like, this kid's good? Like, when did you know you could draw?
Well, the first time I knew that I had something that was a little bit different
Yeah.
was in kindergarten. When we had to draw, and again, forgive me for the sort of, cultural insensitivity, but we had to draw an Eskimo, at the time. And I just remember doing a black crayon drawing of this figure in an anorak, with the fur thing.
Right.
And all my friends came up to me and they said, "How did you do that?" And I thought, when you're 5 years old or 4 years old, you think everybody can do what you do. You don't think that anything is unusual. And then when I realized that, I looked at all of their work and I realized that they couldn't. So I was like,
You guys
I'm better
suck.
than all these
so
people.
I was like, this is my jam. I'm running with this. I'm running with this, and it became an absolute obsession, and it still is. It still is, and I'm sure, speaking, you guys, it's like, a thing or two about obsessions, I'm sure,
Who were the first artists that you fell in love with? Like at 7 years old, when you decide I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, who were the ones that you kind of read and were like, oh,
Was
this
Neil
is a job?
Adams working at that point? Were you reading
Well, yeah,
like
actually,
Hard Traveling Heroes?
I was a big Kurt Swan, Carmen Infantino fan when I was,
Oh,
because
shit.
again, with DC. Marvel was a little out of my league at that age, although I think I did read Thor. But a lot of the, sort of because DC stuff felt safer. It was a little more pedestrian and easier to grasp. It wasn't quite as in your face as Kirby's stuff. And that's why I decided that I wasn't good enough to get into Marvel. That's why I went into DC with a portfolio that I got together from May to June, and I just did all of Adams's characters. So but I ended up going into DC. I didn't have an appointment. I just basically put on a suit that was entirely made of petrochemicals. It was all polyester. I had an Eiffel Tower tie, pants you could play checkers on, and I just went up there and just waited. And I watched the receptionist kind of eat her way through from noon to 3 o'clock just through boredom. She went from pretzels to potato chips to and finally I think they took pity on me, and I met Vinnie Coletta. And if anybody knows who Vinnie Coletta is, he was an inker at Marvel and DC. He was the art director, and he actually said, "I could hire you. I like your stuff, but I don't think you'll be working long because there was the implosion, which to this day I still don't know what exactly happened, at the time." But he called up Neil Adams, and he said, "I want you to meet this kid." And I walked over to continuity. Neil looked at my stuff, and
Neil had his own label at that point.
Neil,
Continuity.
at continuity, he was also doing a lot of stuff for advertising.
Yeah.
So he obviously still had quite a bit of pull. So he called up Jim Shooter, and Shooter, he said, "There's a guy I want you to meet. He's a kid, and problem is he draws like me," which of course at the time everybody else was sort of doing the clone thing.
Right.
And growing up in the country, the whole idea of other farmers that I was around going your work is really good, but you really should be doing your own thing. It's there was none of that.
Right.
People knew that John Deere was a tractor, and I think they thought that Norman Rockwell was a competitor. It was that kind of thing where they didn't know art from anybody.
Right.
So I went over to Marvel, and they basically, I was hoping my goal for the day was maybe I can get a critique, maybe I can get a pinup, maybe I can have them look at my stuff and say, "Look, come back in 6 months, come back in 2 years." Nothing happens. At least I got one more year of art school that I can go into. And what happened was that I walked out with basically a career. So, and the thing is, I started working at Marvel with nothing but DC characters in my portfolio, which to me is so when anybody tells you it's you got to play by certain rules, it's if anything, it's sort of just I was too ignorant and too unafraid to know any better. I just sort
It
of
might have tipped the scales. It might have been we got to get this kid out of DC's hands, man.
yeah. Well, it would be that would be Vinnie Coletta had a big hand in that though. Yeah, but. Marvel, was like I said, it was a little too crazy for me. But DC stuff, Kurt Swan, I was a big fan of. When Neil started doing the covers for a lot of the DC stuff, I really felt I hated it. I absolutely despised it. It was like it was unsafe. It was, and I think you might have your own experience, and fans might have experiences of things that are in their comfort zone, and then somebody comes in, a band will do things in, like the early Beatles from the later Beatles, or like everybody knows Led Zeppelin with Stairway to Heaven, and then you listen to some deep cuts with other stuff, or Coltrane or jazz or whatever. It's like when they push your arena, your arena of comfort, and you kind of wonder, is it that I've gotten older and just sort of more understanding of stuff, or have I matured to like it? Because I used to hate it, now I like it. It's like, who changed in the equation here? And it finally, at one point, everything just sort of switched for me. I just fell in love with Neil's stuff. And again, growing up in a very rural area, I was like, I want to follow this guy's ability. And so I just kept following and pushing it, and I didn't want to draw his own stuff. I didn't want to copy his stuff, but I wanted to draw with the same passion and ability that he had. And it wasn't until I went to art school where I discovered, like I said, music, fine art, everything else, that I just said, wow, this is all this stuff I can pretty much put down the funnel into the goose that is comics,
When was the moment when you went to an art director and said, I want to do something different? Like, I know that you're familiar with the kind of stuff that I've done, like early on and in Moon Knight and what have you, the stuff that might have felt a bit like a Neil Adams clone. When were you like, I'm going to take the training wheels off and I'm going to just fucking go for it? Like, what prompted that shift from early Beatles to later Beatles? Don't
underestimate the power of anger. And feeling invisible and unappreciated. I realized it became
that's the New Jersey in you, my friend.
Yes, it is, absolutely.
Oh,
you know that
your
well.
Jersey
yes,
is
right.
showing.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it'll drive a motherfucker.
It really
for
will.
25 years or 50 years.
Yes. It certainly does, man. It's like, and that's I love having grown up there. It's like I love New Jersey, but it was like when I left, I was like, okay, it's like, thanks, it's like, thank you, it's like, thanks for Springsteen, thanks for all the summers down at Barnegat Bay, and doing all the clamming and stuff like that.
I've been tempered in steel, but I'm never fucking coming back.
Exactly, yeah. I think I started getting a lot of negative response. Bill Sienkiewicz looks like he learned to draw from Neil Adams, ellipses, period. And so I started to feel completely invisible. And, I wish somebody had come to me and said, you got to do your own thing when I was a teenager. But of course that doesn't happen. So I thought all of the stuff that I was putting in my sketchbooks, all of this, to me it just seemed like I fell in love with fashion illustration, exaggerated figures, Ralph Steadman, Curse of the Lono. I mean, Hunter Thompson was a big writing influence on me. Tex Avery. Chuck Jones, I mean, all of that stuff that was just, so bizarre. And so I had my sketchbooks full of that stuff. And I remember I talked to my wife at the time, and I go, I want to try to get this into comics. And they were like, she and other people I knew from Marvel were like, it doesn't happen like that. You can't do it. And I thought, I'm so fed up with the whole dismissal of the Neil Adams stuff that I'm either going to do comics the way I want to do them, or I'm going to get out. It was like, it literally became
That's
that
the Stan Lee approach. Remember, he almost left comics, and Joni was just like, just write one for you. If you're going to leave, fucking do what you want to do before you leave. And that was fantastic.
And for me, that one was Hit It. It was like I plotted that, and that was the one where I really kind of wanted to do a comic story where Moon Knight was not even the main character. He was just sort of, the guy on the cover that sold the book. But it was really about a guy with a cape on or anything else. He was just some guy who, had a lot of abuse as a kid in the story. And I always felt that you could either take what life hands you in terms of lemons, or worse, and you could either feed that anger and just pay that forward, in which case you're kind of, just perpetuating a shitstorm,
Yeah.
or you can actually do something positive with it and just, heal, And I pretty much wanted it to do that, and I set it against a sort of a musical backdrop. And so that's what I tried to do with Hit It. And what you mentioned about, I felt like I had nothing left to do with Moon Knight. It was like I was done. And then I was offered the X-Men, and I turned it down. Because it's like, okay, this is Marvel's flagship book.
Yeah.
It's like, you're asking me to drive it into the ditch because I want to try stuff. And I said, give me a book that not many people know. It's like, because I'm really trying to do stuff that I'm not sure about. I don't know where I'm going with this. All I know is that I need to experiment and try things. And I don't want to be responsible, So I started doing more covers, or more painted covers for like The Dazzler and a couple of other ROM and other books. And
God, I remember those covers.
And then Chris Claremont stopped me in the hall right outside of the X-Men office, and he pitched me the 3-issue Demon Bear saga, like literally in 30 seconds. And because it was a dream sequence and it was sort of this fantasy thing, I just thought, okay, this is 3 issues I can do. I don't want to do another series, 3, like I don't know how Kirby or any of those guys did like hundreds of issues. I mean, for me, 30 issues felt like a lot,
Right.
But when Chris mentioned that, I said, okay, I'm in. And then we just had so much fun, with the series, that we just kind of kept on going with it. And speaking of which, and I don't know if I'm even allowed to mention any of this, but I will say that the New Mutants film, if you've heard anything about it and followed it.
I saw a trailer and then
the last couple of years. Well, actually, 2 days ago, I heard from Josh Boone, the director, and he sent me a new trailer. And he's been working on it and everything else. And it is phenomenal.
Yeah?
It's like, I got chills. It's like, it looks like, because of the whole Disney Fox, I don't even want to call it merger, takeover, whatever,
Right.
you like.
Absorption.
Yeah, right. Borg, But it's got the blessings of Marvel, and it feels more Marvel in terms of what they're doing, but also the horror elements of the film are like in place, and it's really absolutely stellar, just what I've seen. So I think it's coming out. They haven't like mentioned the exact release date, but I'm very excited about it.
you get to see it in another medium. A lot of characters that you brought to the fore, man.
Well, even with exactly with all the actors. I mean, I was actually on set a couple of years ago, and I'm not a parent. I was the crazy uncle,
Right.
but or the Godfather kind of thing for kids. But I pretty much told the cast. I said, look, nobody fucks with you. It's
Right.
like when I'm around.
Nice.
So they're all amazing. I mean, for everybody from Henry Zaga to Maisie Williams to Anya Taylor-Joy to you just name it. Everybody's just phenomenal, really phenomenal. So I'm hoping the film does well. If for no other reason.
I
You
mean,
have
I like that trailer.
Yeah, no. You have like a 2-volume, like crazy career retrospective book coming out? Yeah.
It's actually 3 volumes.
3 volumes.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I
I
brought you
shorted
guys
you a whole
copies
friggin' volume.
as well. I think, did I give you a copy?
Where
of
is
New
it? Where's the
did?
book? Is
Oh,
it
I
this?
have it up here.
No,
We
that's
don't
my
have it.
dope.
That's
No,
your shit up
okay.
there.
It's actually it's over there. There's one.
Oh,
There we go.
Okay. Well,
This one, the blue one?
yes. Is that it up there? You got it?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sienkiewicz
Fantastic.
Revolution.
Yeah.
And so there's 3 volumes?
Sign it. But I got to sign it for you guys. But yeah, it's a 3-volume set. And this is volume 1. So
So what went into choosing? I mean, for 3 fucking volumes for 50 years of a career, that seems like there's a lot to choose from.
well,
How do you narrow down what ends up?
over the years, I've had different publishers, want to do a kind of a career retrospective. But because I've worked in comics and in other arenas, 6 Foot Publishing, they're phenomenal. They actually do a lot of stuff with the Museum of Modern Art. And
I'm not even sharing it. I'm just like, look, it's my entire childhood.
so they actually, pitched the idea of doing 3 volumes, and and doing things that have to do with, some of the commercial work I've done, some of the fine art work I've done, to kind of cover and encompass everything about the medium that I love and about art in general. Yeah. Yeah. No,
Was that, what was it, Chaikin?
The Shadow?
Yeah.
They brought me, DC actually hired me to do the Shadow but they wanted it based on Chaikin's version.
The Run.
Yeah.
Blood and Shadow? Was that it?
So I ended up having, I thought when they asked me I was going to be doing like kind of an Elektra Assassin painted series.
Right.
Because I sort of felt that every series that I took on after Moon Knight was sort of my getting in on the Trojan horse. Like I was doing very typical comic book stuff. The Neil Adams, very safe. Then at the end of the series, I started pushing it. New Mutants was sort of black and white versions of abstraction. Then Elektra Assassin was taking that and putting it in color. Straight Toasters was kind of going even further out in terms of collage and other things. And I thought, well, I'm pushing it further out. The last thing I want to do is kind of go backward. And when they asked me to do the Shadow, I assumed it was going to be painted and I would be able to play with it in the same way. And it was after I signed the contract that they said, oh, by the way, it's like none of that. We want you to do black and white art, line art, kind of like don't do any of that crazy
Was it tough to
stuff.
throttle down after being like?
Oh yeah, I guess you could put it mildly, Yeah, I felt.
Burn it down.
I felt completely sort of, hamstrung. It was like, this shit don't work for me, But I'd already signed the contract, so I turned it into an exercise in sort of inking and, trying to, again make lemon meringue pie with the lemons. But it's still something I'm really proud of, and I'm working with Andy and Chaikin and I. We get along great, so it's like we have a really kind of funny.
Who was the Andy?
Andy Helfer, excuse me.
God damn it! I loved that fucking run of the book.
Yeah.
Who followed you?
Kyle Baker.
Kyle Baker.
Yeah,
That's fucking right.
Yeah.
I loved the Chaikin
Kyle is
miniseries, but
phenomenal.
I loved the Andy Helfer fucking run of that book, man.
Well, I think in a lot of respects,
That's you did that a whole fucking run.
Yeah.
I love that run, and what you're telling me is you're like, I hated doing that.
Yeah. Well, let's put it that way. Initially, I really hated the sort of conditions, but after I got into it, I accepted it for what it was. It was sort of like when you're handed something, you kind of go, well, this isn't what I expected it was going to be. It's different, but you might be disappointed at the very beginning, but you kind of grow into it's okay. This is not going to be sirloin steak. It's going to be hamburger, but it's going to be really good hamburger, whatever. It's, and again, that's not even sort of denigrating hamburger,
Totally.
It's so, but Helfer was a really great writer, but I felt that as much as what I enjoyed, what I did, and as much as I enjoyed working with Andy, I really felt that the Shadow didn't click with that run until Kyle took over.
What's interesting is that Kyle, like if you felt hamstrung, it looked like that's where he got to fucking flourish and start Kyle Bakering it up.
Yeah,
like things
right.
got less.
Well, I think Kyle
a little more abstract.
Kyle's a little bit more like his just id like running rampant. I think that you can try to hamstring Kyle. I might have felt more like I was willing to negotiate and be disappointed or whatever. Kyle's like, fuck this, I'm just doing, and Kyle will just do it. Kyle is so fast and there's just a freedom to his work that by the time you tell him you can't do that, he's like 3 issues ahead.
Right.
So
you worked with Frank Miller on that Daredevil book. What was it like to?
Oh, you mean on Love and War?
What were his scripts? Or what was the script like?
Well, we actually wanted to work together on Love and War, which was going to be issues that was supposed to be issues of
in the Daredevil run.
In the Daredevil run, it was, and I was very much into, like I said, Tex Avery and animation, and I just wanted to do the Kingpin as this behemoth, just
Brilliant.
this large, creature, and We hid pages from Jim Shooter in Ralph Macchio's office. So we were basically going to just, we just conspired pretty much to just like let Jim see it and make readies. When make readies are when like everything is all together and the covers aren't really on it yet. It's like literally one step away from being on the stands.
Right.
And people would come into the office and look at it. Ralph would sort of like safeguard the whole, flat files. And Frank and I, we loved working together. And he said, we're going to do this series, but we should probably do, no, this came later. I'm getting ahead of myself. So what happened was, Shooter walks in the office one day, into Ralph's office, and we're all sitting there, and people are looking through pages. And Chris Claremont is looking, he's got the pages in his hand. And Chris goes, hey, Jim, have you seen these? And,
He spilled the fucking beans.
Yeah,
and Jim was like, not in Daredevil.
Yeah, well, Jim, he looked through them and he said, would you come with me, please, Bill? And he took me to his office and he said, no, this is not going to happen. It's too far out of continuity. It's just too crazy. He said, however, with the death of Captain Marvel, the book that was done by Starlin,
yeah, amazing,
became really, really big in terms of like opening up the whole graphic novel market. He said, you and Frank do this as a graphic novel. You get
right
a chance
then and there in the room he said it?
No, he said
Later
it to me,
on.
and then when Frank and I talked, I said, look, this is the deal. And we were ecstatic about it. So Frank and I got together and we talked about it. He said, all right, if we're going to do this as a graphic novel, this is going to be the big deal we're going to be doing. We need to do another series to put like basically bread and butter, something that we can do that will kind of keep the money flowing in while you're knocking yourself out on this painted stuff. I figure maybe an 6 or 8 issue series on Elektra. And I said, okay, that's cool, but I want to paint that too. And there was no painted, comic book rate. And this is, again, all pre-digital, all that stuff, It's like when I would tear pages in half and literally use like needle and thread to sew the panels back together to show Elektra sort of, kind of coming apart at the seams, no pun intended. It wasn't.
They don't know what to charge you per page for that.
Well, there was no painted page rate.
So did they just give you the black and white rate?
They said we only have the page rate for coloring of comics was based on what was usually make readies and color Xeroxes, where they would have Dr. Martin's dyes. For people who don't know what this process was like, where they actually would do guides for the pages, where they would use like black would be CMYK, it would be like K would be like 25% black, whatever. So it would have these different kinds of numerical codes, and I think it was $50 a page, which is what they were paying the colorists. And they said, we only have that rate established. And I said, all right, I'll do it for that. So I got...
Holy fuck.
It was, and again, this is the passion of youth. It's like I didn't care about the money. I just needed to do it. It was like...
It was groundbreaking.
Yeah.
But you got to keep those pages, though, right? And then, sell those pages
I kept Elektra Assassin, and then years later, it was actually... All of it was purchased by Kevin Eastman when he hit the Turtles.
Kevin Eastman bought all of Elektra Assassin?
All of
he
Elektra.
had it at the museum for a while?
Yeah. All
Kevin
of Elektra.
Eastman had this museum in Northampton, Massachusetts,
right, yeah.
comic book museum. It was fantastic. Had a Batmobile there from Tim Burton's Batman and the Turtle, the outfits and shit, but just a lot of legit comic book art, and would showcase like artists. It was wonderful.
Oh, he had so much of Frazetta, Jeff Jones. I mean, he had one of the largest collections, and I think it eventually got kind of scattered to the winds, So he broke it up. I think I can visit occasionally some of the people being out here in LA now. There are some of the execs that I know who are big comic book fans, So I can, Dave Mandel,
Yes. Dave Mandel, who I did the Clerks cartoon with, has a lot of Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns pages.
Oh yeah, he has a lot of that stuff.
He's got original pages. He's got Marvel just did an exhibit a couple of years ago at the EMP, what used to be the Experience Music Project in Seattle, the museum that's under the Space Needle. And as I went through the exhibits, like incredible, rare fucking pieces, including a Ditko, one of Ditko's pages from Amazing Fantasy. But so many things had a little donated by Dave Mandel. His collection is mind.
Well, he had the poster that I did for the New Mutants with the circuit boards and stuff like that in the show. And he's been very kind. He said, like, if you ever want to visit the stuff, you know, your work, you know, come on by.
I smell a heist.
Yes. I've been to Dave Mandel, like he's married now, he's got a house and wife and kids and stuff, but when he got engaged and when he got married, he kept his apartment.
Yes.
Like it's not too far from where I live. But he didn't keep it to be like, I'm going to spend weekends there. That's literally just where he keeps his collectibles. So he's got drawers and drawers of like the most expensive comic book artwork on the planet. He's got an original Stormtrooper helmet from A New Hope, like one of the few that ever leaked out into the world and stuff. He's got like a grade A collection.
Is that the one with the paint flecks where they actually, it was not made out of the same color? It was like, it was painted?
It was completely
wow, that's, you're talking super rare.
And he got that a long time ago. And I remember when he got it, this was like years ago, and he paid something like, what was then to me mind-bending, like 15 grand. I was like, you got screwed. That thing's worth like $1 million today. It's fucking crazy.
I say again, I smell a heist.
I know, really. Who has been, over a long career, and you've drawn a lot of cats, including you did amazing Batman covers for my Widening Gyre run.
I'm still waiting for our second run on that.
It's taken a long time, almost 10 years I'm waiting.
Okay,
but like I've got a lot of that artwork hanging up in my house. So I obviously love your Batman. You did my Onomatopoeia covers as well. They were like mind-bending. I look at them every day and stuff. As well as you did the cover for Evening with Kevin Smith 3. Across the spectrum, both the big two, everywhere you've ever worked, who's your favorite character to draw?
Wow. It's like, not to sort of evade the question, but it also kind of depends on the day. You know, I mean, there are...
Three favorite characters.
Three favorite, okay. Batman.
Oh, fuck yeah. You draw the fuck out of Batman, dude. And you paint the fuck out of Batman. Like, you make that Batman that's just feels like what a criminal on fucking drugs would see when they turned in the alley and Batman was there. Just this imposing, fucking curling, organic figure that almost rises out of the shadows. Like more myth than man.
Thanks, man. Well, the feeling that you just mentioned, that was really what I felt like. People have asked, you know, what I feel separates my work from other, because there are people who can draw rings around me. It's like, and I felt like my goal was to draw well enough to have something look like what it's supposed to. But I really care, and again, maybe this is where the jazz comes into it. I really care more about what a character feels like. So if a character is yelling, you know, you can, like, and you see a lot of artists, you know, get into comics and they'll use photo reference and they'll have somebody yelling and it'll be like, you know, it'll be sort of this tepid, you know, half yell. And I would rather sort of dislocate the jaw and just have it be this, you know.
That's that Tex Avery influence there.
Tex Avery.
But it totally plays.
Yeah.
I never look at that book and be like, well, that's just unrealistic. Number one, we're dealing with characters that are completely unrealistic to begin with.
Right.
So to have dramatic expressions makes the work fucking memorable and engages the reader on an emotional level.
Well, that sort of ties back into what I said earlier about the you know, film adaptations as sort of being a thankless job. I mean, when I was doing Dune, they said, you know, he's too heavy. It's like you're telling me that if I did an adaptation of the Superman movie with, you know, with Christopher Reeve, I'd have to draw the wires holding him up. You know, it's like you can do anything in this medium. Why are you sort of limiting me? So anyway. Joker's always a kick to do because he feels
an amazing Joker
and Elektra, you know, I'd say, you know, there was a point when I was like, I'm done, I can't do anymore, and I sort of felt like with Elektra, I sort of felt like Nimoy felt like with Spock at a certain point.
Spock, and then later on, I am
remember
Spock.
That book? Yeah, it's like, yeah, okay, this is like, there are worse things to be associated with, you know, and in a weird kind of a way, it's like, I have no, you know, illusions. I mean, I feel incredibly fortunate and blessed. I mean, the fact that I get to wake up every day and do what I loved as a kid, and that there's just so much more, you know.
And you're a fucking Mount Rushmore name in the industry, man. Like fucking.
Well, it's
like,
kind of, I don't know about, but I appreciate that. But
you are.
It's like
You're,
I don't.
you're an artist
got-
that people study, man.
You got a 3-volume retrospective work. So volume 1 is on sale now, right? Volume 1's on sale. When do the other 2 come out? Is it all 3 in 1? Can I buy them all now?
No, the second one, we're actually just starting on the second volume now.
You start on volume. Oh, you're starting work on volume 2. So volume
Right.
1 is available. Volume 2
Right,
coming
and
later.
volume 1 comes in two editions. One is the regular edition, which is that book there, and then there's another limited edition which comes with like 20 to 30. I'm blanking on the exact number of art prints as well. So it's a big, a bigger package of limited edition stuff. So
Big Numbers, was that Moore?
that was that with Alan, yeah. Yeah.
What does an Alan Moore script look like? Intimidating?
It's everything that you've probably heard about. It's like when I was working with Frank, and again, I've been really fortunate to work with so many of the greatest writers. I mean, Doug Mensch was like, my first, and Doug was very, very complete. And I think he was also kind of given a thankless job because I think they were like, write for the idiot,
Right.
give him everything, And when I worked the later issues, I really wanted to stretch. I kind of felt hamstrung because I wanted to be able to say, look, you want me to get your character from point A to point B. Let me decide. Don't tell me like how to get him there. Let me get you there,
More freedom on the page.
Exactly, yeah. Because when I was growing up, I used to write all of my comics. I used to write for my friends. So I kind of grew up in that, what was sort of the Filipino school, where you're writing, lettering, coloring, doing all of your stuff yourself. And when you get into comics, when I got into the regular mainstream stuff, where it becomes more of a Ford assembly line. It's like, you're a penciler, you're putting on the windshield, you're going to be doing the,
Right.
the headrests and the coffee holders, It was like working with Doug and then working with Chris. Chris was very much about plot, so he left it wide open. Frank started off giving me pretty heavy-duty scripts, and then as we were working on Electra Assassin, he would give me a page description like Garrett's reconstruction, and that would be it.
So he gave you a lot of freedom.
A lot of freedom.
That's an artist trusting an artist,
Right.
going like, you know what you're doing.
Right. Whereas Alan would give me, for a 48-page comic, I mean, literally it would be 1.5 inches thick. And he would have stories about background characters having an argument. And it would go into their whole conversation. I mean, he was writing a novel is really what he was doing. Things that would never really make it into
the panels.
Into the panels.
It was more for you as the artist.
Yeah, it was like, oh my God, this stuff is just, it's dense. There's dense as in lead, and then there's neutron star dense,
Right.
It was like, and and Alan was just like, just push it in there, and he was really amazing. And to me, like, bringing up Alan, the one thing that sort of is my, in a career where I feel really, really fortunate, my biggest regret is Big Numbers not, being finished. That to me.
That's right.
Yeah, that's like.
But that's on him, correct?
Well, that was like during the, I guess the 80s, 90s, when, minor digression here. It's like Big Numbers was really supposed to be about chaos theory and how seemingly, the butterfly effect, the whole randomness of life.
Long before anybody was dealing with
Right.
it in the movies. and
Exactly, right. So it was really going to be about, things that seem like unrelated, but were all sort of tied together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew where all the characters were going to end up. And it was actually starting out in black and white. It was supposed to go into a full color by the end. And I lived in Westport, Connecticut at the time. And I think I needed about 45 different characters to people to because in that project I wanted to do as close to photorealism as I could. Again, this is pre-digital.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was one page that there was a coffee cup, milk. Yeah, I think it was in that issue. No, not in that issue, issue 2. But there was one where coffee cream was being mixed into a cup of coffee.
Look how fucking breathtaking this shit is, man.
Well, the thing is that that was all being airbrushed, and if I wanted to play with focus, there wasn't a blur filter that I played with, So, but what was strange about that is that I had to hire and reach out to a bunch of different artists and friends and just people that I didn't even know to act as models. And there was one sequence in issue 1 where there's a bunch of little kids making Molotov cocktails. And I don't know if any of you know what like Westport, Connecticut is like. If you've ever read The Stepford Wives,
fuck yeah.
And Greenwich, the last thing you want to do when you're there is to go up to a bunch of moms at a playground and ask if you can take photographs of their kids. Especially to have them like creating Molotov cocktails. It's like no, they're going to be making lemonade. So what really happened is that because it was a story about chaos, the reason it fell apart was chaos. I mean, life got crazy. My parents passed away. It's like I broke up with my girlfriend at the time. It's like I remember 2 of the people who were posing for the characters. One drowned in Long Island Sound. He was one of those big brothers who took his kid out in a march. It was a very, very bad weekend with a lot of bad weather. And their bodies washed up on shore like 6 weeks later.
Him and the kid?
Yeah. And it was like this weird thing where
life imitating art.
Yeah. Well, it's like a perverse version or even more perverse version of Lost in La Mancha, by Terry Gilliam. That kind of thing. Yeah. Where so
it was just fraught with peril, the whole thing.
Exactly.
Cursed.
Yeah. So I regret that it didn't happen, but it was still one of the most wonderful experiences.
It feels like incompletion is the perfect end for a story about chaos.
That's the sort of, I'm hesitating to say it's kind of a poetic, ending to it. Maybe because it's a rationalization on my part for not working out. So,
feel like it's meant not to end.
Yeah, it's very meta. Yeah, but.
Is there anything or any character you haven't drawn yet, like for somebody that you're like, oh, I've always wanted to do that? I'm sure like you get commissions all the time, and I'm sure when you're bored, fucking, you're a god.
Well,
you can sit there and draw whatever you want.
I was also a big sword and sorcery guy growing up. I was a big, into Robert E. Howard and to Frazetta. So I always thought it'd be fun to do a run on Conan for some reason.
You never did?
No,
like
never
covers
did.
or anything?
I did some covers, yeah.
Yes,
but they always, Conan always ended up looking like Clint Eastwood for me, It's like,
well, you are the Polish guy, so that's what happened.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, Eastwood was a big idol of, big hero to me, in terms of like saying more with less. And he's also a jazz guy too. So.
Of Marvel or DC, where do you fall now? Like you said, like I like DC. It was safe. You've done a fuck ton of Marvel work and redefined Marvel and created fucking IP that's still being used today. Do you have a preference?
I think.
Not who's better to work for, but like where are the characters better? Where do you feel more at home?
I think, in a weird way, me being sort of not taken at DC was actually like a blessing. I mean, again, I have nothing against DC. They've been absolutely amazing to work with, and I love their characters. But in terms of my personality and everything that I've done, I can't take any credit for without acknowledging all the editors, like Ralph Macchio and Ann Nocenti, and even Shooter. Shooter gave me a lot of crap, but he was like, he would fight for his freelancers. He would bust my chops with, saying like you're using all of these muddy colors, but he would say you can't do things like with the whole thing with the Kingpin. He said it's not going to be in the regular comic, but rather than just sort of crushing it, he said, and killing it, he said, let's do it as a graphic novel. So he was open to it. So, there's always so many people who are there to, if they feel that you're honest and you love what you're doing, they will be there to support you and push you and kind of clear the path for you. So for me, I will always be indebted to, and I made so many friends, during all the years when I was at Marvel. I mean, the bullpen, having conversations with, things that you don't really see much of these days. Going, because now if you go into any of the corporate offices, you got to give like a blood sample and a license. I mean, back then I remember having a conversation with Jack Abel, who was an inker and a lot of romance stuff he did, and we got to a conversation about Roy Lichtenstein, about his paintings, $20 million paintings, if you've ever seen any of Lichtenstein's stuff. It's only recently that you see guys like Bernie Wrightson making $1 million, his estate, or not even his estate, the artists themselves are being, struggling for health care, but I remember talking to Jack, I said, well, how do you feel about the fact that you did these romance, panels, these comics?
He was just kind of doing large versions of that.
Yeah, and he's running away. And he was very sanguine about it. He just said, well, I probably stole it from Wally Wood anyway. So it was, these kinds of things where you're all kind of in this cocoon of loving the medium and like striving to have comics be viewed as, not where like you're standing on a remote rocky hillside, with your hand nailed to your forehead about comics being art. Where other art forms can come in and sort of, what's the word, access or pay, homage, not even homage, but just sort of take from it and then just sort of make a lot of bank with it. And yet the medium itself is still viewed as denigrated. Because, I'm sure when you guys were growing up, comics were probably viewed as, viewed.
Why are you reading that kid shit?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whereas if you go to Europe, it's like they're reading it right out in the open. And I think a lot of that has changed. But I think that even in corporate structure, I think the corporations sort of view the comics side of things the same way a lot of fans did. I think they sort of don't quite understand it. It's like a crazy group of sort of creative kids doing stuff. But
you are a crazy creative kid who did a bunch of stuff. He segued. Volume 1 is available how and where? Where can they get it?
I think it's probably available at like most major book outlets. It's available on Amazon and
Amazon. I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Who are they?
Right, exactly. So
the book is volume 1. The career is absolutely legendary. If I could draw, I wouldn't have subjected people to those horrible fucking movies. So my hat is always off to anybody that can capture graphics, and hands down, you were one of my favorite artists on the planet. And thank you for coming on.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you
guys.
for a lifetime.
Thank you all.
Give it up for Bill Sienkiewicz, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Excellent job, Captain. Goddamn pleasure.
Good to see you guys.
Fuck, man.
That was awesome.
Yes, that's like comics porn too. Just like names that are like, fuck. Okay, do you got news?
Depends if you got time.
Look at that fucking Dazzler cover, man. Oh my God. I know they don't want me to sign that. There's the ROM cover. There's fucking Electra.
Electra Assassin.
Yeah, let's cover some shit before
Okay.
I gotta bolt downtown and do some Q&As for Jay and Silent Bob Reboot at the Alamo Draft House. I'm gonna be cheating on y'all tonight with some people at the Alamo Draft House.
All right, then we're going to power through this news relatively quickly.
Fucking A. I won't say anything about it.
No. Hey, do you know what kind of TV show is going to be on the Disney Plus in years to come?
What, they got a new show they haven't announced or something?
Yeah, or they've just started to talk about.
Okay, tell me.
Were you a Willow fan as a kid?
Yeah. Oh shit, they're bringing Willow back?
Yeah.
That is an absolute fucking no-brainer, man, and that's a good place for it and shit. I say this happily because my dog is named Mad Mardigan. Wow, right? Is Ron Howard doing it?
Ron Howard will produce it. Jonathan Kasdan, I think, is writing.
That's fucking dope, man. That's some of that news that makes you happy, where you're like, oh man, good for them. I believe in that.
I had a feeling you would.
I'll catch up to it and shit when it happens for sure. Like that's so fucking right up my alley.
Do you think they bring Warwick Davis back?
They'd have to, yeah, and he's still fucking vital and yeah, absolutely bring him back. Fuck yeah. And like, it turns out he's got a kid. Willow 2, my daughter or some shit like that.
Not without my daughter.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, and I guess if you're going to do that, then like Laura Dannon would probably be in her early 20s, maybe mid 20s.
Right.
That makes a ton of sense.
That movie, I like that Ron Howard's going to get another bite at that apple. Like it meant, I remember when it came out, it meant the world to him, and it didn't like light the world on fire. I really dug it, but it wasn't like they thought it would be like, this is the next Star Wars. That's a movie he did with George Lucas. So
Which is basically also Star Wars.
It is kind of, yeah, it's medieval Star Wars and stuff. That's awesome, man. I like when people can kind of go full circle, come back to some shit. Looks like he's got some unfinished business. And that's a good idea, man. In a world where they did the Dark Crystal, absolutely do that.
Speaking of unfinished business, Orlando Jones, who was one of the co-stars in American Gods.
Yeah.
He played the sort of African trickster god Anansi.
Yes.
And season 2, he was also part of the show and had been sort of promoted to both like producer and writer on the show. And apparently, according to him, was fired for season 3, kind of without warning, kind of without sort of cause, and told to be quiet about it. This happened back in September. He's decided not to be very quiet about it, and kind of took his grievances to the internet.
What's the idea? Why? Is it one of those, we don't need his character anymore, but it's deeper than that?
Yes, the statement by Fremantle, which is the sort of studio behind the show, Stars is the network. The statement says, the character of Mr. Nancy was not in the sections of the book that we're adapting, so we've decided not to renew his contract. Orlando is saying that they've decided that that particular character, who was the like angry gets shit done, a little bit of the, not to say angry Negro, but angry Negro, was not the vision of blackness they wanted to portray on the show any longer. And they felt that the showrunner, or at least he feels, that the showrunner feels that he can handle all of the black people talking without any black people on the staff.
I also saw something about, was it Gabrielle Union?
Yeah, who also, America's Got Talent was also a Fremantle show, and so apparently
they're both Fremantle shows.
They're both Fremantle shows.
Your hair's too black.
Yes, you're a little bit too black for us, and
They told her hair was too black?
Yeah, so it is
2019? I'm just checking.
No. So it's weird for this to all sort of come out when like Watchmen is having this very serious conversation about race and class and value and pain, a lesson that apparently Fremantle hasn't quite wrapped their heads around. So yeah, it is not that this sort of thing doesn't happen, because it does with frightening regularity.
Who gave me this weed? Who are you, new best friend?
Who are you, new best friend?
What's the story behind this weed, and does it go with this this image? Look at this shit, man. Hold on one sec. Let me just hold it up for everyone to see.
Ooh.
Jesus Christ. Look who it is. It's our princess.
Oh, wow.
That's gorgeous. You did this? And what'd you do?
I did the copper. I do the leaf custom.
Listen to you. You're like, well, you know, I fucking helped. She did the hard shit. It's amazing. This is gorgeous. I'm literally hanging this up in my house, man. You got a fucking great eye. And you know what? You gold leaf pretty well. That is really
Let's not get crazy. He copper leafs very well.
Yeah, my bad. Oh, that's fucking gorgeous, kids. Well done. Thank you. And then what's the story behind this?
Homegrown, I grew it myself, so I know you're a pothead, so am I, and I hope you enjoy it.
I don't know. You know what? I am a pothead. You're absolutely right. At first I was going to chafe at that, but I'm like, no, that's me. We totally can. I don't know what I'm happier about, man. At first I saw the weed and I was excited, but this is legit gorgeous, man. My wife is going to let me hang this up. That's the bar for everything. If my wife is like, get that off the wall. But she'll fucking love this. And look at her, man. You have her resting in power. That's a beautiful piece. Excellent fucking job. Shit, I didn't bring you anything.
Oh.
Do I have anything? What is it? Oh, you guys are too sweet. Thank you.
Look at that.
That's tremendous. And look, you got an afterthought. And Mark Bernardin.
Oh, yeah, whatever. I'll come visit that at your house.
Okay, what else?
Marvel TV is officially no more.
Yeah, man. Let's pour one out for
For
Jeff
Jeff
Loeb,
Loeb.
man, who carried that shit like across to Calvary, man, for like almost a decade. He was like doing it, and come on, we got some great shows out of that as well. What is this about? Sign the hat. Oh, I was just like, are we doing bets or something? On the inside of the brim, cool, or inside the hat?
I'm going to enter my
Inside,
Pharrell
like,
phase.
on this
so
side
I'm
here
gonna
or
take that
inside?
hat.
Inside. I just don't want to fuck it up where you're like, now I got a stupid signature all over and shit. I'll go this side. This is nice, man. It's fucking dope, man. Go
So
ahead.
yeah, Marvel TV is no more. Jeff Loeb had announced that he was going to be leaving the company a few months back, and it's still not clear what his date of departure was. Ooh, for me too?
Yeah, you get to sign as
Am I
well.
going to fuck up the front of your hat?
Jeff, I spoke to him about it not too long ago. He wasn't like, fuck. He was like, this is cool. I'm ready to do something. But, thank you. Remember, we're now coming into an age where, Kevin Feige's got the Marvel shows on Disney Plus, and they're going to be fucking amazing. Everything I've heard about WandaVision is fucking incredible. That being said, like, there was a time where, like, we were so fucking delighted to have a legit, wonderful Daredevil. And that came from Jeff. We were so excited, maybe I was, to have legit, wonderful Runaways. I absolutely loved that fucking show. That came from them. A lot of people love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That came from fucking them. Like, the list goes on, and like, they were carrying the torch and trying to connect them to the movies when they were allowed and stuff like that. I thought they did a wonderful job, like the whole way. There's nobody leaves that operation with shame. And I'll be honest with you, like, it makes absolute sense what they're doing to put it all under Kevin Feige. Like, he's got the movies now, he's got the TV shows, and the comic books, it sounds like, are going to be under him as well. That makes absolute fucking sense. That being said, it takes nothing away from all the great work that Jeff and Marvel Television have done for the last 10 years. Give it up for Jeff
Yes.
and Marvel TV, man. Now, Marvel TV won't cease to exist. It's just becoming this different
Right, it's getting
version of
folded
it.
under Marvel Studios, and some of the same executives are still going to be there, helping
Yes,
to finish
Kareem
out
and
some of
stuff
those
like
shows. But so it's not quite gone, but it's not exactly what it was at one point.
I hear the Hulu shows are still alive. So far, so good for Howard the Duck. I'll let you know if anything happens. But yeah, it's. I think ultimately it's sad, to see an era come to an end. But I kind of look forward to see what they're doing next.
Absolutely, nothing lasts forever.
Yeah.
Unless you have made a movie that gets voted into the Library of Congress's National Film Registry, of which every year they choose 25 to be restored and venerated and kept among the most important works of cinematic art. One person who's standing behind this bar had a movie voted into the National Film Registry this past week.
That was that person is me, ladies and
That
gentlemen.
person is you.
It was 2 a.m. I forget which city I was in, but I was just about to go to bed. And Claire King, who has been, she's Legion M cat, who's been with me like all throughout the making of this movie and promoting it and whatnot. She built the Quick Stop at the cons this year and stuff. Brought it down to San Diego as well. She tweeted at like 2 a.m. She was like, "What a fucking year you're having." And I clicked on the article and I saw that. I had no idea that was coming. You can't even plan for that sort of shit, nor can you dream about that sort of shit, because that's just like fucking so far-fetched. But when I read that shit, I wept. I felt like, honestly, I was like, I'm safe. Like I'm nobody can take this shit away anymore, man. Like, as you heard from Bill before, like, we're from New Jersey, and for whatever reason, because you grow up in the shadow of something far larger than yourself, which is New York, which is right next door and stuff, you never think you're fucking good enough. So it makes you try harder and shit like that. It makes you strive for more, but it also kind of makes you miserable inside some days where you can't just enjoy some shit because you're always worried if it's going to be taken away from you. Did I really earn it? Fucking like, was anybody going to care years from now and shit? That moment made me feel like, oh fuck, I'm safe. We did it. Like, fucking nobody could take that 25 years away, man. Like, it was real. So beautiful. So I can't thank folks enough. It was a public vote, and the public voted up. It was the most votes
The most public votes.
most public
for
votes
any of the
this year.
25 movies voted in.
And Christopher Downey, who directed the Shooting Clerks biopic. This is a movie about how we made Clerks back in the day. He was the guy. I remember seeing a tweet where he was like, "Let's get this in the National Registry," and I was like, "You poor son of a bitch. That's what a waste of time. That's for better people and shit like that. Don't throw your vote away." But it fucking worked out, man. And it was that with putting my hands in the cement at the Chinese theater. Like, those are two things I never saw coming, but really make me feel like, oh, I wasn't a fluke, man. Like, fucking, we're part of it now. Like, we're in the book. That feels fucking great. So it was absolutely fucking magical. And I heard from a bunch of people like that I hadn't heard from in a long time and stuff. It was really, really fucking special. Like, in a world where like my job is to catch attention because I'm in sales. I sell Kevin Smith for a living and stuff. And you premeditate in a lot of cases. Like, I'm going to do this article because I want to sell these tickets and shit like that. And sometimes it's hard to get traction or ink or something like that. I got a round of free fucking press for something that I did like a quarter century ago. It was really fucking nice. For a guy who believes in like work smarter, not harder, I didn't have to do anything. The 21-year-old fucking Kevin Smith who started me on this journey, he did all the fucking hard work and stuff. So when it happened and when I read that, when I got emotional and cried, it wasn't so much for me. That felt cool. I felt safe. I felt so good for that kid. This would mean the world to him, and that people treated that movie seriously. Holy fuck. So yeah, it was a very, very special thing, man.
Yes, and other films in this particular class, The Last Waltz by Martin
Scorsese movie.
Coal Miner's Daughter, Amadeus.
Yes, Milos Forman's Amadeus, which I love. Coal Miner's Daughter, my father took me to see twice in a movie theater. I absolutely, dearly love that movie. So when I saw that I was in the category with that, we were in one of the 25 movies with Coal Miner's Daughter, I felt fucking fantastic. Then I saw Spike Lee, She's Gotta Have It.
Yeah,
and Spike Lee's a big part of why I do what I do. And then Purple fucking Rain, man. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm telling you, the kid that made Clerks would be fucking beside himself. And the guy who fucking was the kid who made Clerks, like, is beside himself too. Like, it was just wonderful to be included in any list, let alone that one, man. And my old man, he's been long dead and shit. But this would have gave him such a fucking, I was going to say hard on, but it sounds weird for the dead. Like, he loved this kind of shit. Like, for him to be like, you've been recognized by the government, even this government, like, fucking, it would be a cool thing. So it is nice to be involved, nice to be in the Library of Congress. Like, that means if the aliens come and blow everything up, there's a copy of Clerks still waiting, man. So, fucking A, we got to save it at all costs.
That's the news, my friend.
That's the news?
That's the news.
Fucking A. Let's see what time we got. 10:30. All right, I could do a couple questions because I drive terribly and fast.
Oh,
terribly
it's insane.
Fast. What do we got to give away?
Let's see. We got 40X tickets from our good friend Brett.
Oh, our fantastic friend Brett Deacon, who works over at 40X,
Yes.
has grabbed tickets for us to give away. If you've not seen a movie in 40X, are they doing Star Wars?
They are doing Star Wars.
Kids, I've been fucking, look, I don't know how many times I got to tell you about 40X, man. This is a theater, a movie seat that will blow you practically. It's unbelievable. It shoots fucking mist in your face. Everything fucking stinks. It's fantastic. This is an amazing way to see a movie. But if you've never seen a movie, go see fucking Star Wars with your 40X tickets, man.
We got those. We got Xbox Game Passes, good for 1 month. Unlimited access to over 100 high-quality games from the good folks at Xbox.
Holy shit. Where'd we get this?
I got those.
You did?
Yeah.
Who do you know, man? Fucking look at this.
It seems like Xbox likes some black man. I'm just saying.
And then, of course, our own Dark Knight Returns, Nate Gonzalez, did these amazing Watchmen prints. One of my favorite aspects of this show we do here is this is so punk rock. Every fucking show, Nate has created artwork for us, man, that always makes me feel fucking young and vital. And like I said, I wish I could draw, but I can't. I'm so glad I know people that can. So you'll get one of these as well, man, if we get to answer your question. And is that all the shit we... Oh, fuck, no, I got shit to give away. Holy shit, look at this. Jay and Silent Bob have games, man, from the good folks at Playstorm. These are card games, and this one is called Jay and Silent Bob's Big Fat Card-On Game. You sit there, you put these questions together, like different powers of comic book characters and shit. Like, you're an Avenger of the Night and a guy who swims underwater and saves fishes. We can't say the real names because that's fucking expensive. So you match those powers, and then you see which one can do what, man. It's like you're sitting around with your friends going, imagine, like, who beat this guy or this guy? It's that fucking game. So you get one of those. You'll also get not one, but two fucking games, also from the good folks at Playstorm. This game is called the Jay and Silent Bob Smell My Finger game. In this game, you got fake fingers, man, and you put them on your hand, and you take any scent you want. Here in the bar, there'd be lots of liquor to choose from. You can stick it in dog shit. You can stick it up your ass. And then you played a game where you're like, smell my finger, and they have to guess it properly, man. So, I mean, technically you could do it without the game. You could just do it with your own fingers, but fucking... It's got cards and stakes and shit. So the good folks at Playstorm did this with us, man. So you'll get a copy of that game as well. All right. 3 questions. Here we go, man. And then I got to fucking race downtown and shit like that. Back to James.
All right. Our first one's DJ Clulo.
DJ, where are you, man? Get
right
up
on
here,
the
DJ.
end.
Give it up for DJ, everybody.
Hello.
Fire away, DJ.
Hi.
Hi.
Happy Star Wars Week.
Yes.
Woo! May the force be with
I've
us.
seen it already, man. I want to tell you something. There's this
Shut
one
up.
moment-
Well,
Shut up!
I've seen it twice already.
Zip it!
You saw it twice?
Yep. So my question actually comes with a story about Star Wars
Okay,
that leads
fire
into
away.
it. So it starts
Is it
a
a
little
short
heavy,
story, or is
but
it
it
like
gets
an
a little
epic?
bit lighter. So bear with me. So 2015, huge Star Wars fan. Force Awakens is coming out. About a week before Force Awakens comes out, my mom has to go in for surgery.
Oof.
And for luck, I gave her a BB-8 charm for a bracelet. And she unfortunately couldn't go see the movie with me, and I saw it. It was a big deal. Unfortunately, a week after, she passed away very suddenly.
Man, fuck. Sorry.
And it was, of course, very hard. Me and her were very close, and it really just knocked the wind out of me. I'm an artist. I was doing conventions across the country. You know, I really kind of hit me into a depression. Then fast forward a year, on the anniversary of my mom's death, we lost Carrie Fisher.
Oh, man.
So it's like 2 for 2. It's going great.
Right.
At that point, I was just like, oh man. I left my career. I had worked for Disney for a long time. I left there, moved back home to be with my dad, and I gave up my drawing. I gave up my career I had, and I'm just in a depression. And then the next year, on next anniversary, Last Jedi comes out. I love the film, but I am in like my lowest low.
Mm.
Then something happened, and that something is this. Kevin, I've been a fan of you for a long time and have listened to your podcast, and you're driven to inspire people to do the things they love, to push themselves to do podcasts or to do art or whatever it is. And then this incarnation of the show happened where the two of you got together and people would come and ask you questions, and you would give life advice. And I listened every week or every 2 weeks when the episode would come out, and I'd listen to it driving to my job that I now hated, and it really just pushed me to a new level of what I can do and who I can be. And I was like, you know what? My mom's no longer here to inspire me, but you guys were. So
I want to come over the bar and fucking hug you, man, but keep going.
So then fast forward a year again, and I applied for my dream job on the anniversary of my mom's death. And I'm proud to say for this entire year, I now work for Lucasfilm.
Fucking A, man. Fuck.
So
That is fucking proof we're living in a right simulation right now. Fucking well done.
if you want to talk about Rise of Skywalker later, I can totally do it.
Yes. Oh, fuck. You've seen it a bunch.
Off the record. So because of you guys and talking to your fans and giving that advice about what should I do to be a better writer, what should I do to be an artist, you know, through that, it silently drove me. And I was here for the premiere, and Mark, you posted that the show was happening, and I was like, oh, it's destiny. This is so weird. I have to go. And I bought a ticket instantly. And I so wanted to tell you guys, thank you, because of everything you've done. I now work in a galaxy far, far away.
Number one, that's awesome, and you're definitely winning. The stuff we're giving away. But number two, can you get us a job?
Can I see the movie?
Yeah.
I mean, you got a few more days, you know.
What is it like working for them? They seem like a great organization.
It's really surreal. You know, I grew up being a fan, and in my dream, I went to art school because I wanted to work at LucasArts. And I actually went to college in San Francisco for a year, and the school was horrible, so I left art school. And I never thought I thought I'd lost my opportunity to work in Star Wars. I worked for Lucasfilm, and then I just got crazy lucky. But it's amazing being up there at the Presidio, at the campus, walking through those halls with legends, with ILM legends. I see John Knoll every day.
Whoa.
Dennis Murin, all them.
Whoa.
Wow.
These are the names of my childhood, man. Those are rock star names. People whose names I knew before I got in this business and shit. And those are people that are like behind the scenes people. They still loom large as fucking rock stars. I met Dennis Murin. He's fucking awesome.
He's very tall.
Yeah, he's fucking huge, right?
Yes.
He looks like the Wampa.
I think the craziest thing was it was like a couple weeks back. There's a bathroom across the hall from my office, and I walked out, and I walked in the bathroom, and there's someone washing their hands. Good. And I just looked to see if it was somebody I know to say hi, and it was the maker. It was George Lucas. And I just did that thing where I'm like, not a good time to say hello to him.
Not me. I would have been like, let me see your dick. Yeah. Let me see your lightsaber, George.
So
He'd remember me.
It's no Dr. Manhattan.
And I thought he smelled bad on the outside.
So I did my business, and I ran back to my office like, guys, George Lucas is in the bathroom.
George Lucas urinates.
And they're just like, yeah, he owns the building. So that was crazy. And then I went to the cafeteria later that day, and he was sitting at a table 10 feet from me. You know, Dave Filoni's right here, John Knoll, and I'm just like, what is my life now? So it's been surreal, and
I bet your mom would be so happy, man. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Very fucking cool.
Thank you so much. So my question.
Yes.
I always love how that ends with people say these inspiring stories and they go, but there's one more thing.
Yeah, give me more.
So that's my story. For you guys, was there somebody in your life, maybe someone you just didn't know directly, a hero that inspired you to just pick it up and go, you know what, I can do it. I can do it, and I'm going to. And then dreams happen.
Richard Linklater, hands down. I saw Slacker, and that's the movie that made me go, oh, maybe I could make a movie. And then I read all about his journey, which wasn't easy at the time because there was no internet and stuff. But I tracked down articles and fucking any book I could get my hands on and stuff. But he made me believe it was possible. He made me believe in myself. And not like he was never sat me down and said, Kevin, believe in yourself. It's just I saw his movie, and it spoke to me on some level of like, oh my God, like fucking, you know, if that's a movie, I think I can make a fucking movie too. It just made it seem possible. So yeah, hands down, I'm not standing here unless Richard Linklater sings his song. That enabled me to sing my song.
I was working at the Hollywood Reporter. I was an editor. I wanted to write television. I had written a bunch of pilots. You know, they'd gotten progressively better, as one does, but I hadn't had any success. Like there was nothing was breaking my way. And I was lucky enough to get to interview, I did a cover story on Damon Lindelof, right about when like Alien Covenant was coming out and Leftovers was starting up, and like we kind of hit it off. I spent a couple days with him, and like Tomorrowland I think was on the horizon. And like a couple weeks after that, maybe about a month after that, I like just violated every bit of journalistic ethics and sent an email saying, hey, listen, I know you're staffing up on Leftovers. I wonder if you might consider me for that room. And he said, all right, well, fuck it. Okay, send me a script. And I sent him a pilot that I'd written, and you know, about a week later he emails me and he says, listen, I'm always hesitant to ask people to read shit because, you know, there's almost no good outcome for that, because either like it's good, rarely, or it's bad and I have to figure out a way to tell you that you can't write. He's like, luckily I don't have to tell you that. Like you can write, like you have talent. And I said, listen, like, I know you don't know me from Adam, but I'm thinking about giving up because it's just too hard. The odds are too long. I don't know if I'm ever going to make this happen. And he said, now's not the time to give up. Now's the time to double down. He's like, you have the talent, and you can't control the timing. And the only way to be prepared for that is to keep going. And I'm convinced that if somebody hadn't told me that at that moment, I would have given up. It happened to be him. And the fact that, like, he then became a friend and I get to interview him about fucking Watchmen, which he didn't hire me for, but that's a whole other thing.
You little bitch, man. Like, I feel like he cracked open my world and gave me everything. He didn't hire me for Watchmen, but whatever.
That's all right.
There's always season 2.
There's always season 2.
That's true.
But just like sometimes you need that one person at that time to tell you, keep going. You know, like it's not futile. It's not worth giving up. You can do this. You just need to wait for the brass ring to come around for you. And when it comes, grab it. And for me, he was that guy at that time.
Bam. You win a prize, man. Take it, my friend. Take this pile. Thank you for that, man. That means the world. All right, JC, where are we going now?
Melissa Lambert?
Melissa Lambert, get up here, Melissa. Everyone give it up for Melissa. She might be next. Well, she's definitely next. We'll see if she gets a prize.
Hi.
How are you?
Big fan. Shout out to my brother. It's his birthday.
Happy birthday!
Shout out Matthew. And this question is actually for my husband. I actually didn't come up with it myself. He's
it's
serving
funny.
in the
This
Navy.
is for my husband. You reached to JC, and I was like, I've only been gone 2 months. Like,
He's serving in the Navy on the other side of the country, so I thought I'd ask this for him.
Oh, how fucking sweet. Wait, where is he?
He's in Louisiana.
Doing what?
He's in the Navy. He's a corpsman.
Thank him for his service.
Yeah.
That's rocking him. All right.
So we've been watching Watchmen together, and it was really inspiring.
Fantastic.
But what cultural event or idea would you want to educate an audience on with an IP like Tulsa 21 and Watchmen? Which IP would you guys choose, and why?
Ooh, IP plus cultural event. Wow. Okay.
Uh-oh.
All right.
I stumped Mark.
Hold on.
Yeah, no, you really fucking asked a very classy question, and we weren't prepared for that at all.
No.
None of my back pocket dick jokes are gonna work, man. I'm gonna have to dig Damon Lindelof deep on this one. But I'm waiting on you.
Oh shit.
You usually have something so smart to say.
Like, but it's two things now. It's
I
not just
know.
like I gotta find the event and then I gotta find. Fuck. All right. Okay.
I broke the rules. I asked 2 questions, not 1.
No, there's.
That's all right.
It was an enigma inside of a mystery inside of a puzzle box.
All right, I can't do Watchmen. I can't do the Tulsa Massacre, but the IP I would choose is A Man for All Seasons, which is a Thomas More, Robert Bolt play about Thomas More, and they made it into a movie. And how it would be, what was the second question? What could you deal with? I guess it would be like talking about Brexit. God, all of that sounded so fucking white.
Okay, I got one.
Go, save us.
It's not a specific ghost story. It is a ghost story though. But during the Revolutionary War, there is a very precarious moment when the cause was almost lost, when the George Washington's army was trapped on Long Island, on Brooklyn, honestly. And the entire British Navy was between Brooklyn and the mainland. And Brooklyn is on Long Island, so it's an island. It's sort of, island, surrounded by water. And the British army was moving in, and the Revolutionary Army was just about to get wiped out, and so they had to stage this last-minute crazy fucking escape over the bay into New Jersey, and they would have all died if it wasn't for like this bank of fog that happens to roll in that covers their escape from nightfall to dawn. And literally, like, George Washington is on the last fucking boat to New Jersey as the fog lifts. And the British Army rolls in and everything is gone. Cannons, horses, 5,000 men. If that doesn't happen, there is no America. And it happened, and it's ridiculous. And so if there's...
And New Jersey was involved?
New Jersey is fucking involved.
Bill!
We did it! But like I always kind of wanted to tell a story about like George Washington, his confidant during that entire experience was a slave because, again, fucking 1782, and America and white people. But I always thought it'd be interesting if that slave was a ghost, you know, and so he's confiding into this person who is not there.
Why are you telling people this story? Why don't you save this and fucking do it?
Because she asked me a question.
I know, but fucking like, that's great.
My husband's in the Navy.
That's a good point. You need to do this. That's fucking tight, dude.
I tried to sell it as a graphic novel. And
who didn't buy that?
Bob Schreck at Vertigo.
I know, Bob.
Yeah.
Stupid
You didn't go
Bob.
for that?
Didn't go for it.
Yeah, Bob, you did fucking Clerks, the comic book. You didn't do that?
So
That's
maybe I'll
fucking
dust it
dope.
off at some point.
You should. That's a fucking, I didn't know that story.
Yeah.
That's dope. Great question. Way better answer than mine. You get a prize. Take this whole package.
Thank you.
Man. Tell your husband we said hello. Pleasure.
Good to meet you.
All right,
we got one
JC.
more.
All right, Big Daddy Jimmy V.
Hey, Big Daddy,
Daddy
Jimmy,
Jimmy
you
V.
come up here, man.
Is he still
Give
here?
it up for Big Daddy Jimmy V. Did he leave?
Oh,
Oh, sorry, Jimmy.
all right.
You know what?
Well.
That's fair.
Do you want to hear his question? It's a
Nope.
good
Nope.
one.
If you ain't here to ask it, I don't want to know it. Go ahead.
You got one
You
more?
got a backup?
I've got a backup.
Sydney, Australia.
Yeah?
Obsessed with you.
All right, you come
All
up
right,
and
you.
ask a question. Get the fuck up here, Sydney. Get up here. Get up here right now. Come on.
I want to hear a man about
We got
a woman.
somebody who came real fucking far. Give it up for
You
Sydney.
guys all the time. Not makes me, but like we listen to you guys all the time.
You can do it, man.
And we literally live in here.
Captain, how are you? Don't walk past me, Sydney. How are you? Good day, as they say. Pleasure. Come on up to the wall. Join us, man. Sydney, it's fucking beautiful. If you've never been there, you take off from Los Angeles, you land in Sydney, and you think you just landed in Los Angeles again.
It's beautiful.
It looks exactly like Los Angeles. I took off, I saw a Westfield Mall, I landed, I saw a Westfield Mall. I was like, all right, man. One world.
First off, it's great to meet you both.
Where's your fucking accent, man?
Yeah, I'm from Boston. My girlfriend's from Torrance. We both live in Sydney now.
How'd that happen?
It's a long story. This podcast runs, and you've got some places to go. So we
That's
will-
true.
we'll
Good
go
point.
into
Yeah,
it.
good point. Thank you.
My question was, given the expansion of the Star Wars canon in the last couple of years, there are a lot of lessons outside of the original trilogy that resonate with us fans. Which ones resonate with you personally, and which ones would you expand on?
The Ahsoka storyline is my favorite aspect of Star Wars. I think even more so than perhaps like the movies themselves at this point. Her storyline was absolutely fantastic. And then they touched on it again years later, and she fought Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was one of the best fucking Star Wars anything that has ever happened in this world. If you've never seen that happened in Rebels, began in Clone Wars, and Clone Wars is coming back, so we're gonna get more Ahsoka. I read an article, JJ did an interview, and somebody said, hey man, is there any Ahsoka in this movie, in The Rise of Skywalker? And he indicated positively that if you pay attention, there is a Ahsoka moment. And I saw the movie, and I can attest to that, where I was like, oh, like that's the kind of fan service they're doing. I love her storyline. I'd love to see her brought into the movies. And I think I saw the first step toward that. And especially because that storyline is epic. It's, they're always trying to tie it into the old shit and whatnot. That ties directly into Anakin Skywalker. Dave Filoni, who directed the first and fourth episodes, I believe, if not of Mandalorian.
Mando!
Mando maker himself. He's instrumental in creating that character if he didn't create her single-handedly and whatnot. That dude is now rising to power in that place. He's always been the animation guy, but now he's moving into the live action and stuff. And he got to cut his teeth in animation where people do what you want. And he told some of the most imaginative fucking Star Wars stories that have ever been told. So maybe he's the guy who gets to bring his creation from one medium into the other. That would be breathtaking for me. I say Ahsoka. You?
When we first started to see the trailers for Rogue One, I think we fucking podcasted about it because of course we did. What else would we have done about it?
Yeah.
And I was theorizing that Jyn Erso was, because you saw her in this like black flight suit as she's sort of making her way into the Scarif headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what if that is the pilot of one of the TIE fighters, the one that knocks into Vader's TIE fighter in the trench run?
I remember you said that
Yeah,
on the podcast. I was like, oh, you
I was
just
like,
made a better movie.
Because there's that scene where, like, they're flying. He's like, I'm on the leader. And they just, woo, poof, and that is the TIE fighter that knocks Vader.
With the weirdest James Earl Jones performance moment and all that. What? It's the most
funky.
like fucking your grandpa. What?
Where are my pills? But I think there is still an interesting story about like that TIE fighter pilot. Like, is that
Bink. Did they do that in Tag and Bink? Not that aspect. Were they the two dudes who were on his fucking flank? Kevin Rubio's a genius. Kevin Rubio did Troops, and he also did Tag and Bink. And Tag and Bink is kind of like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern in the Star Wars universe.
Well, then I want Tag and Bink.
You should read it. It's definitely. I forgot. That's right. They do. They're in the fucking ship and shit.
So that's my thing then. Fuck it. It's been done.
That's a great fucking call, and that's
Game
a
over.
great fucking question. And that is the best Australian accent I've ever heard. Give it up for him, ladies and gentlemen. You win a package of stuff. Goddamn pleasure. That is a girlfriend worth keeping, man. She's like an agent.
Yeah, get your ass out there.
Yeah.
Ask your fucking question.
That was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, somebody.
Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, we got
Shine
to talk
your light.
about a lot. We got to see a lot. We got to hear a lot and shit. Did y'all have a good time this evening? Sounds like we're gonna try to do this when?
Sunday the 22nd.
So JC will put up tickets, get some tickets and whatnot. We'll spread the word. We'll let everybody know that you got to see fucking Rise of Skywalker because we're gonna spoil the shit out of it. But we'll sit around. That's a Sunday?
Sunday.
Afternoon or evening, JC?
Afternoon.
We're gonna sit around on a Sunday afternoon and talk about fucking Star Wars, man. How amazing will that be? Come on out. It'll be a good time. Thank you for being here tonight. Nice to be back after so many fucking months. Give it up for the guy who has held down the fucking fort and elevated the fort, Mr. Mark Bernardin. And that is Fat Man Beyond for this week, man. I'm Kevin Smith.
I'm Mark Bernardin.
Tune in next time. Same fat time, same fat channel, smodcast.com or
YouTube.com/Kevin Smith.
May the force be with you, everybody. Good night.